Hello, everyone, and welcome. Oh my God, Kaiser, you're gigantic!
Wait, what?
One minute, I'll resize you. I gotta click on you. Is that you? Okay, good.
Okay, that one's on you, not me. I resized myself before this stream.
Look. I was trying to get certain things done, like commenting that there would be no AI used in Stellar Sentinels. That was an important question.
As if you need to comment on that, but
well, no,
right.
someone legitimately, someone on the auditions asked, "Can you guarantee that no AI would be used?" And I'm like, "Yeah, no, I don't even know how to use that kind of shit." So I mean, like I know how to use ChatGPT. That's about it, and I use it more as a like point me in the right direction so I know where to look for stuff.
Right.
Funko Bear. Oh, Teddy Bear. All right, Teddy Bear Paladin. Funko
so
Bear.
early.
Yeah, so early. After brief pause, my old cub placed me in the hands of my new cub. The bear hoodie-clad girl was surprised. With the words, "Happy birthday," my old cub left, and my new one held me close. Aww.
Aww.
Oh, man.
He was kind enough to give the thing that he didn't want to a girl who knew that he knew would appreciate it.
Dang. But now Teddy Bear Paladins lost their little brother. I'm upset.
Yeah.
I'm not going to emotionally be able to handle it.
Oh, don't worry. It's a training arc. He's going to go away for a couple of arcs, and he'll come back, and he'll be like badass.
Right.
Oh, I thought that this was like a flashback saying of how he ended up in.
Oh, there's
in
that too.
the
That's
hands of his new owner.
Honestly, I'm kind of lost at this point. I have to go back and watch. Like everyone else in the stream, go back through all of our streams and watch specifically for the Teddy Bear.
Again, I need to make the super cut of all the Teddy Bear Paladin stuff. I have to put them all together.
But yeah, welcome everyone to the Team Jacked podcast. I am your host, Raymond McNeil. Joining me as always is the vociferous Judgmental Critter.
Wow, that's me.
The vivacious young Kaiser.
Is it because I was big earlier? Is that why you're calling me that?
It's because my brain is on a V kick right now.
Watch me not change.
Yeah, no, you're not going to change. The wonderful Twilight Guardian. Look, for better or for worse, that's a nice baseline to work from.
I am eternal.
Jake the Surgeon says, Lillian Orchard Archibald, destroyer of sanity, progenitor to all mental illness, will tell us how to write. Amazing. Oh, trust me.
That brings us right into the topic, doesn't it?
It does. But before that, a couple of announcements, just because, get it out of the way. Stellar Sentinels still auditioning right now, so if you're at all interested, go to Casting Call Club, look up Stellar Sentinels. I forgot to put a link in the description, but you can find the video for it on my channel. Quick and easy. It's like the most recent one. Go for it. Also, there is a donation link down in the description to help out. It is your... It's your mother's dog, is that correct, Charlie?
Yes. Charlie needs to get surgery because he keeps breaking his CCL. And...
Ooh.
Poor Charlie.
Yeah, I think this is the third or fourth time that it's happened, and he's only 3 years old. So he's just a little baby still.
So yeah, if
I mean, like, he's not a puppy, but
all doggos are puppies. But yeah, so if anyone, if you're feeling at all generous or benevolent, click that link and help that poor pupper out. And that's
absolutely
that's really the two big announcements. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that needs to be announced.
Anything related to fixing?
No. You're not gonna see it for a while, but we landed on a look for Ruby, and I'm very happy with it. It looks
yes.
really good.
Dang.
I saw it. It was so good.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet.
Well, yeah, it's sketchies only right now.
Yeah.
Fair.
The thing we're doing right now, we're really struggling with Blake right now. That's created like a war. It's
Blake's always like surprisingly hard, isn't she?
She really is. Butterfly and Moopa are each other's throats about it. And I know I love both of them. I know they love each other, but it's like, god damn, it can get very brutal between character designers.
Even with Fractured Fairy Tales, where she's not Blake anymore, I still struggle with figuring out what to do with her. Oh, and I
think it's
renamed
because
her recently.
Oh,
What
go
did I?
ahead.
Layla. That's what I renamed her.
Layla.
Because it was
Nice.
Aylin, and then I renamed her to Layla, and I did that, I think, right before we had that hangout critter.
Yeah.
Taranga Layla?
No, just Layla.
Okay.
I
God
need
damn it,
to-
fucking
I need
keep
to
remembering.
wipe my association with that name from a terrible book that we have on the list for bad fanfiction night, I believe. It's a YouTuber book.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she's a YouTuber that is like her whole channel is about writing and then giving really basic writing tips and stuff. But then when her book came out, people realized, oh, she didn't follow her own advice.
Damn, that's always so
I-
funny. And speaking of writing advice,
Yeah,
take
I
us
was gonna
away,
say. So today we're bringing to you a surprisingly topical thing, considering what's happening recently.
Yes.
There is a notorious denizen of the internet out there, known by the name of Lily Orchard. Twilight, I think you are the most knowledgeable on her of us, so maybe you should be the one
Yeah.
to give us the rundown of, give us some bullet points of how she rose to prominence.
I feel like it's the time.
So-
but God.
So Lily rose to prominence very, very quickly, and that was mostly from her videos on why Steven Universe is garbage and why The Legend of Korra is garbage. But before then, she had a little bit of notoriety as a My Little Pony Friendship is Magic commentator. And then slowly transitioned out of that after the show died. And then after that, she had a lot of controversies, or was in a lot of controversies for this, that, or the other. The most notable is a lot of sexual controversies in nature that are,
Yeah, a lot of
you know,
stuff.
involving a lot
like
of young
fans.
people.
Yeah.
Brief
A lot
interlude
of
of
young
that dark
fans.
thought. Donuts, everyone!
Yeah!
Billy
Donuts.
Donuts in the house!
Billy Donuts, let's go.
It's
But the savior we always need.
I was gonna say it's
Yes.
like there's that Flipnote guy that like he's been doing these Flipnote animations. I mean, they've been popular on YouTube and Twitter and all that stuff recently. It's like I imagine like it's one of those skits where it's like in the middle of it's like this like really somber, like we're talking about super serious, and just in the middle of someone who wants donuts, and just everyone immediately yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we're returning back to the dour stuff.
Yeah. Hello, Manga Common. Thank you for bringing us back to that. Yeah, she used to be someone who just tried to write off of Yahtzee's coattails with parodies.
Right.
Back then known as Ballspawn, then transitioned to the My Little Pony stuff and all that. And right now, we're mostly not going to focus on a lot of the darker aspects of what she goes through, although that is kind of related because with a lot of people like this, a lot of their issues and their controversies are tied to their personal opinions, which
Yeah.
a lot of these writing tips are.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
they're really... But she is very well known for her bad opinions on media, which gets
Yeah.
her a lot of shit.
Yeah, if any of you have seen my video or Pete's video on Lily's video on the Mary Sue, a lot of videoception going on right here. That is only a tip of that iceberg, and people have been ragging on her for her takes, especially recently, especially because of her takes around Dungeon Mesh. She literally had her delete her original video on it, which got archived, by the way. Just saying.
Manga comment.
Uh-huh.
Also, I tried to read off this list on a live stream, the writing tips, and I almost got hacked.
Yeah, I remember
What?
that.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
what
You
should I be
did do
looking
that,
out
and you
for,
also
then?
made a video about it. Yeah.
Yep.
What should I be looking out for then to protect myself here?
You can't.
Years ago.
The only thing that you can do is just try not to get noticed by her, and hope that if you do, then she'll be in a good enough mood to not care about you.
Just make sure you have two-factor and your such.
Dragon
Yeah.
Ball Z says, does anyone know how Lily came up with these rules? Probably just personal opinion.
Yeah,
they are personal
we'll
opinion.
get to that when we get there.
They're all personal opinion, but also she watches like 5 shows.
Yeah.
That's
it
the
becomes
problem.
real
Oh, it was
obvious.
some other jackass that tried to do it, not Lily. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
But on a related note, recently, like really recently,
Yes,
it
I was
was
gonna
actually
say,
like
a day ago.
an hour after
Yeah.
we decided we were going to do this topic for
We
Yes.
didn't
this
plan
stream.
this.
We
It
this
was-
was
we
not
did not
planned. It
plan
was literally
this.
just, we were like, what should we do next week? We have the Lily Orchard list. We could go that. Well, let's do that. And then like,
And
an
then
hour
literally
later.
a bomb drop.
So
Because go ahead, Critter. Take
Lily
us away.
seems to be doing copyright strikes against people. Just because they say they don't like her opinions and she has the thinnest skin ever. And I know
Yeah.
for a fact one of her tips on this list is like, don't listen to critics. They don't know anything. Do what you want to do.
And it's
So,
gonna
the
get
hypocrisy.
contradicted. I know which tip you're talking about. It's gonna be contradicted in this very same list that says the opposite. It's gonna be
Yep.
amazing. But what really sends me about all of this, aside from the perfect stars aligning timing that we have here,
Mhm.
is just the fact that this chick is so bothered because she thinks, oh, they're stealing my content on, during these streams. Bitch, your videos are like 20 minutes long. These streams are 4 hours long. Who the fuck is stealing from you? How the hell does that happen?
I find
the two
I
people
find
that
it really
she's
funny.
the two people that she's hit so far that we know of. I don't know if she's planning on like trying to hit more people with this.
She is.
Is Sai and Ant, and we've mentioned Ant on stream before.
We've covered it.
Um,
That was one of the most
I was
frustrating duo streams
we
ever.
all- We all agreed we would side with Ant, no matter how much we disagreed with him on his takes
Yeah.
before. We would side with him any day of the week over Lily
Sure.
Orchard.
Yeah,
I
If he
do-
allows it anyway.
I do still find it really funny that Ant is getting hit with this, and trying to say, like, my stuff is fair use because it's, like, 4 hours long, and it's commentary, and yet he complained about us and our 8-hour-long stream because there's 4 of us and only 1 of him, and obviously we're gonna have a much harder time going through it while all saying our opinions and stuff and just having conversations because it's not all about you, Ant.
I mean, I was gonna say it's ironic simply because the fact that he gave her credit in his video, and now she
Yeah.
turns around and does this. Say what you want about people like Just a Robot, or Just Some Guy, or friggin' Critical Drinker, whoever the fuck these people complain about. They don't freaking false copyright strike people. They don't go after somebody's money. And I guess yeah, it's so insane. I can't wrap my head around it. How the fuck did she think she was gonna get away with this?
Well, that's the thing is
crazy.
people are suspecting right now that she's doing this particularly to get personal information, because that is
Yes.
something
Oh,
that you
yeah.
have to do
Mhm.
when you launch a counterclaim. Is you have to fill out your legal name and bullcrap. Which, by the way, if she does that to me,
No.
we'll see what name I end up using.
Oh,
I
yeah.
might get an agent to fill it out for me, because you can legally do that. For everyone that doesn't know that, it might cost you a
gonna
little
say.
bit, but you can get an agent that can step in and actually fill it out for you as like basically your
And-
lawyer. It's
Yeah,
Yeah.
and in terms
Among
of
the
like,
common-
legal stuff. Oh, go ahead.
Lily also notoriously only sticks to sites where she can curate the comments. Like she
Yes.
deletes hundreds of comments off her YouTube channel. That's why she doesn't go to Twitter, because she could block people, but that won't stop other people
Also,
from
she
seeing
got
the
banned.
comments calling her out. She stays on Tumblr where she can get rid of comments that she doesn't like. She notoriously cannot stand criticism of her.
No,
And
it's
it's so
literally-
weird.
no,
Yeah.
it's literally like this bit. Okay, can I just say something that is understated among people that A-log the shit out of this chick? This bitch hates her audience. Okay?
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
You can ask her the most basic of freaking questions, and she will blow up at you for no discernible fucking reason.
Oh,
It's crazy.
I was looking at her Tumblr yesterday because I wanted to see if she had anything to say about the copyright strikes that she was
Mhm.
handing out, and I found
Mhm.
this it's unrelated, but an anonymous person asked, honest question, why do you keep getting the pronouns of your critics wrong? And she responded with, I don't actually know who these people are, and I can only guess as to what their pronouns are. I don't engage with their work in the slightest, and the only way I know they exist is because YouTube gives me a tab of here's when your audience is watching. I know their channel names and nothing else about them, and I haven't bothered to learn anything else. I don't actually think about these people. And I just want to say that she can fuck you.
Yeah,
It's just like
seriously, I
basic.
don't know who these people are. Yet you've been mauling about Psy, a 10K sub channel, for months. Get the
Mhm.
fuck out of here.
I was
like,
gonna
Like,
say,
you can't
like
mull
I
about somebody and then say that you don't know anything about them. You obviously know about them,
especially because
and you think about them a lot if you're mulding about them on your
Mhm.
Tumblr.
I
Right.
imagine Lily is the kind of person that gets her panties in a twist when someone misgenders her. Like
Yes.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely, yes.
And I like the thing is like I have opinions on all that stuff, but I do try when people have a gender identity. I do try to be accommodating to them. The only
Sure.
times I ever make an exception to being accommodating is if I know for a fact that they are a horrible person, and at which point it's like
Or
you
something.
haven't earned
Yeah,
you have
if
you've
we-
earned negative respect. You've actively
we-
earned my disrespect. I am going to
Yeah, it's like a
actively-
Chris Chan situation.
Yeah, it's like
you know?
calling someone a fuckface. It's like that's how
Yeah.
I treat it at that point. It's like you've literally gotten so bad. Like you've gotten so far below my basic standards of human respect that I'm not going to do any of that. That's the only point that you and I now I don't know Lily personally, but I would hazard to guess if we were to interact personally, she would start climbing down that ladder pretty fast. I'm
110%.
I am just presuming that.
As a
I could be
listen,
surprised.
Raymond, as a former fan of her content, you are absolutely right. This is what happens.
Yeah.
She does with people all the time, but we got a few super chats to cover.
Oh, we do?
Sorry, guys.
Well, there was one about
Pining Tree.
Yeah,
For
I answered
$5
that.
says
I
Oh,
answered that
okay.
one
No,
in
my
chat.
bad.
Well, I can answer out loud too. Will there be a new Sketchy Huntsman audition when the season is more ready? Yes, there will be. But no timeline on that yet. We're still really early on in development, all things considered.
Yeah, we're still very, very early on it.
Dragon Ball Z, we already answered that one. How does Lily come up with these rules? And
Jake
Jake
the
the Surgeon. Lily also thinks violence is okay as long as it's against people I disagree with. Yeah, you see that?
Yep.
Not okay. Not okay.
Yep.
I'm very firmly a violence is a self-defense scenario. It is not something that you should ever actively partake in. And you know what?
Hey, Twilight, aren't you responding to a video of hers that that absolutely is layered with that kind of rhetoric?
Yep.
Yep.
And I think that, because I've been taking so long with it and I now know a lot more about her general personality, I think I was too nice to her and too willing to try and be honest with my replies, even if I did get a little bit heated. I was far, far too nice.
Here's the thing: when you cover Lily, the rabbit hole is center of the earth fucking deep. Okay,
Yes.
you gotta be able to separate all the shit you know about her separately from the media takes to a certain extent. Or else the video is just gonna be twice as fucking
What I
long.
like people with that mentality, what I like about them is more often than not, now there are exceptions, of course, and they are actually very dangerous in the exception to this. More often than not, people that have those kinds of opinions, they have glass fucking jaws and noodle arms.
110%.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I do not imagine that if Lily saw someone she considered, like, I don't know, a Nazi or something on the street, that she would have the balls to just walk up to them and punch them in the face and then just wait
Dude,
around
have you
for everyone
seen
to
her IRL
clap.
photo of her? Have
No,
you
I
seen her
haven't.
IRL photo? Dude, a paper bag weighs more than her. Straight up. I'm sorry.
But like, it just amuses me that it's like the people that talk the biggest about violence are the ones that have no capacity for meaningful violence beyond petty bullshit, like, you know, I don't know, throwing rocks, I guess. And basically are the ones that if violence were to break out, they are the first ones to cry for help. Like they are not the ones to manage themselves in a fight.
She's also one of the ones that, like, we'll see it as we go through the list of tips, but, like, she is such a big, like, hypocrite with those kind of things. Because, like, I support violence, unless it's something I like. And then that's, like, why she said Monica Magica was torture porn. Because there's, girls are sad and get hurt, and that's no good.
Oh, that was in the video in my live stream, right? And I DM'd Raymond, this was so funny. I DM'd Raymond that, like, hey, if you like Monica Magica, you're a emotionally unhealthy piece of shit. Lily's rules.
Says the emotionally unhealthy piece of shit.
Well, get this. Tell him my reply. What was my reply? I can't remember it.
Oh, your reply was. Oh my god, I have to find it. I clipped it. I know that I clipped it. Hold on.
Well, I'll use it for that. We have Lance Corporal Anime Guy saying, Lily tries to sue peeps, big D energy people, suck my 16-inch battleship gun that can fire entire car dealerships in 30 minutes.
Dude, he's going giga
100,000 feet per second.
I've been trying to reply to this for a while, but Manga Common was talking about Ant, and the thing that I said about him, and he said, well, at least he didn't copyright strike, and it's like, yeah, true. Like, he is just a disingenuous person who doesn't like to have a conversation. He just likes to say his opinion and poison the well. And he's a bad person for that. But that doesn't mean that he's not someone that he's not a lesser evil that you can't still team up with when you're facing up a greater evil.
Yeah, he's just a guy with no principles in regards to media critics, but he doesn't deserve his channel taken down, potentially. That's what this shit happens. And which is why I don't feel bad for leaking this. Raymond, in response, said, good to know. I'm sure she has a healthy relationship with her father. I was dying in that stream, bro. Holy shit.
I feel like I could have probably gone even stronger there, but I think keeping it simple helps. Sky Slasher says, Death Battles Kickstarter is up and thriving. Feel free to support it if you can. Good to know.
Absolutely.
I won't be. I'm not a fan of Death Battle, but if everyone else is, go for it. I'm not going to hold you back. Or maybe I will. I'll hold you back, and I'll make you want to donate more. I'll double negative you.
Here's my thing about them is that, like, yeah, they haven't really been good in, like, a while, but they don't deserve to go down with Rooster Teeth's ship. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, no, I think they're a fun distraction. Ultimately, I don't take them seriously. Like, there are some people out there that are like, ride or die. Death Battle said this about this fight, and thus it must happen that way. No, I'm sorry. I don't know much about Mikasa, but she could take down Blake any day. All right? Let's be straight here. The only fight that I think was anywhere close to fair was the one where it was where's Weiss against Yukari from Persona 3.
No, Mitsuru. No, it was Mitsuru.
It was Mitsuru. Sorry. I frankly, I don't know too much about Persona 3, but I do know the power scaling of Persona because I played Persona 4. So I'm saying there, I'm like, I could see that being equitable to some degree. The rest,
I called that girl some girl in a video once, the one who plays Weiss. And I have gotten too many comments of people being very offended that I don't know who she is.
You gotta understand, Critter. Mitsuru is one of the most popular characters from that game.
Okay,
Persona fans are freaking rabid.
You could pull back. There's so many characters in Persona are beloved. So if you I know I would probably have that reaction if someone were to say that about Chie, and I adored Chie to death. Like I understand.
If you say that on Naoto, we're done. I'm sorry, we're done. Our friendship is over.
Lance Corporal Anime Guy says Lily sounds like a Chinese knockoff of a Chinese paper tiger military. However, you as Texas bitch slap real Nazis with entire car dealership at 30 minutes. Okay. I get it. You're flexing your military history muscles here, buddy. English. I would prefer English.
English, motherfucker. Do you speak? Thanks for the money.
But no,
Saito says Chie, my love.
yes. Okay,
Of
so
course Saito likes her.
to kind of wrap back into the point of this, so that's when like it was just so coincidental that she started really popping off about this whole copyright stuff and becoming another lol.
Oh, yeah.
It's great.
Mhm.
So
Right.
it just works right into us covering her writing tips, which she
Yeah.
wrote out on Twitter. There are now. Here's the thing. It's gonna
Which
pause
were then
you.
deleted.
There are some in here that are not disagreeable. There are actually a few in here I remember because I remember Twi showed me this at one point years ago.
Yeah.
There's some in here that
Oh
are
my
actually
God.
pretty okay. And then there are some in here that are just hilariously bad.
Mhm.
Oh my God. Twi, I think you and I covered this in VC once as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But man, you can already see the very first one, so I think we'll start off with that. The first one, number 1. Don't worry about spoilers. If your story is good, spoilers aren't going to make it any less enjoyable. If spoilers make a story less enjoyable, that just means you're relying on cheap shock value as a shortcut. And you know what? I generally agree with this.
I generally
Generally.
don't, actually.
Oh.
Specifically because of her reaction to Delicious in Dungeon, where
Yeah.
in her video she spoiled the ending, and a lot of people were rightfully upset, and she was very rude about it.
Oh,
And it's one thing like it's not that the story is made better by not knowing how it's by being spoiled by it, but it's just ruining someone's intended way of engaging with the story.
I want to clarify
Right.
at least my
Also-
mentality on this is I'm not treating this as a read into her on that. Like her hypocrisy is a great note, but I'm just like as general advice, I generally agree with it, but at the same time, there's caveats to it. You're gonna say Twilight?
Yeah.
I want to say it depends, because if you're writing a mystery novel,
Right.
the spoiler would ruin the appeal of your novel.
Right.
Mhm.
Or even in a long running like story where there's like a big mystery going on. Like this is the case with Attack on Titan, for example. What exactly is in, Aaron's dad's basement is a 3-season long plot point at the bare freaking minimum, right? And
Look, we all know it's a
spoiling
sex
that and
dungeon.
really-
We all know what it is. No one just wants to say it. We all know
That
it's
was
just
the real Attack on the Titans.
Yeah. He was just horny for some Titans.
I mean, as
and-
far as Rule 34 is concerned, buddy. But yeah, I think that the problem is that number one, this isn't writing advice. This has nothing to do with writing, right? This has everything to do with people's enjoyment. And I do agree that a story isn't better or worse simply because, you know how it's going to end, because a lot of the fun is how it ends. The issue is that like people are going to engage with me the way they want to, and if you don't want to get spoiled, I'm just going to respect those boundaries. And the way, especially with the way that she puts it here, cheap shock value. It's not necessarily cheap if somebody wants to do that, you know?
Sorry, Jake the Surgeon says of all the anthropoidal hominids, Lily makes me wish I was a serine adaptiform. Why are you doing this to us, guys?
That's strepsirine adaptiform.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What does it mean?
I'm pretty sure.
I don't know. I'm
species.
imagining some kind of
I
slug.
think that's just like the species name.
Yeah.
But like I don't know what species.
Twi casts a spell.
But I was gonna say, like, my nuance to this has always been like always acknowledging your story should always maintain itself once the twist is revealed, or like a spoiler.
Yes.
Like that's always been it. And there's a lot of people back in the early thousands that a lot of movies tried to cash in on the M. Night Shyamalan phase, where they tried to have a big twist in the movie, but then when you sat down and really thought about the twist, it doesn't make sense. Like, I think the advice of don't focus so much on making a big twist or a shock. Try and make a consistent story, and if you have a cool reveal later on, or you've built out of a cool reveal, and you've done it
Right.
successfully, that's the important thing, because there's always repeat watches. Like, even for a mystery, even if you know the ending, one of the cool things about mystery is watching a second time and looking for all the building blocks that lead up to it, and all the like, oh, it's so obvious now what they, oh, it was totally her in the bedroom with a knife. Like,
there's a great quote from Cinder in Volume 3 of Ruby where Mercury's eating popcorn and he's like, I wonder who's gonna win. And Emerald's like, as if we don't know. And Cinder walks up and steals a piece of unpopped popcorn like an asshole and pops it with her semblance. And she goes, even if you know how a story ends, it's still exciting to see how you get there. Or something like that.
Yeah.
I just wish,
also,
wish
just
Ruby
very
took
quickly,
that advice.
because you moved on, strepsirines or lemurs.
Oh,
Ah.
that wouldn't be, I wouldn't mind being a lemur.
So Jake, you would rather be a lemur than a fellow human, a humoid.
That's not that bad.
Got you.
Be like Zaboomafoo.
Yeah.
I was about to say King Julian, so you can move it.
Sky Slasher says, it's more about if the story, even if you know the twist is going, compare No Way Home to TLJ. Yes. Definitely. The way those treat the different big reveals and the different moments is very important.
Yeah. And like Critter said, the fact that somebody is ruining your personal engagement with the story, because I can say that I got spoiled on Death Note on L's death, and that made me completely lose interest in Death Note as a story.
What?
I still,
L dies?
to this day, I still to this day haven't finished watching or reading it because I just didn't care.
What my thing with that was, not only was I told that L died, but I was told that he was replaced by people that really weren't as good as him, and it's like,
yeah,
that's really what killed it. It's like, it's the further clarification that there's not, like, what follows after is inferior compared to when he was at his prime, and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Jamie Kagamori says, oh boy, the writing tips. Hopefully you brought alcohol. Love all you guys. Hope the stream stays up. Yeah, here's hoping.
Yeah, no, like, here's the thing. What we're covering isn't a freaking video, so Lily has even less grounds to try to strike this one.
She'll probably still try.
She'll probably still try, and also it hasn't stopped her from taking down content that she's already taken down that they found and reacted, because the internet is forever, and you can't really delete things on the internet unless if it's extremely obscure.
Sky Slasher
she
says,
done that? Okay.
If you knew the twist in No Way Home, you still get an enjoyable experience of the three Spideys interacting in the ultimate tragedy of the ending. TLJ, if you know what's coming, it deflates the tension. Yeah.
I will say sometimes knowing a spoiler can be a selling point. Like,
Yes.
I was about to say.
I had no interest in Steven Universe whatsoever, and I had heard plenty of things about it. No interest. I learned that Garnet is a fusion, and I was like, now I'm interested, and that's what made me decide to actually watch it.
Imagine growing up with that twist.
I had no interest in Deadpool and Wolverine. I mean, I never even saw Deadpool 2, but I learned what the actual main plot was, which was obscured by the trailer, and I'm actually kind of fascinated by it because there's a lot of reverence to a lot of past films. I'm not going to go beyond that, but that fascinates me because of how a lot of films nowadays, like Star Wars, is not treating its past very well. It's being very disrespectful in many ways. You don't see a lot of movie franchises being very respectful to what came before, and just to have that is just, it feels like a breath of fresh air. So I'm now more interested in going to see it.
Yeah, for me, this was the case with, most people know it by Zatch Bell, but I used the Japanese name Gash Bell. Gash Bell has a sequel manga made by the original author that he is still writing right now in like an indie studio or whatever. It's really good. So I wasn't originally like interested in reading and watching all of the series in order to catch up to it. But then I saw this moment in like the first few chapters of the main character of the first story, grown up, and you see his thought bubbles about what he thought about his journey with his demon partner Gash and how they managed to, you know, all the trials they've been through with each other, and how they both became men that they were proud of. And he called him brother in that dialogue too. And I was all like, you know what? I'm gonna see how this happened. I want to see how this relationship grew and how fucking badass they ended up becoming at this point in the story, because they go absolutely insane. So that's a
It's
case of that where it's like it
it's
drew me.
ultimately it's ultimately a bit of a wash, because like you can't know what is going to intrigue someone and what is going to turn somebody off of something.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
why, like, with spoilers, you always have to ask the individual person who might get spoiled, do you think that this would help or hurt your interest in this product?
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
I started reading Mistborn. I didn't like the first chapter. My friend my friend told me, "Hey, would you like me to just describe some of the cool stuff that happens at the end game?" I'm like, "Sure." And he described, like, not even end game stuff. He described like all this world building stuff, and I'm like, "Yeah, I have no interest in this book. I'm glad I stopped reading."
Yeah.
Jake the Surgeon says, Stepshire. Stepshire, what are you doing, Stepshire? Is the clade where lemurs nest within. Lorosis is also there too. Lorises are
Yeah,
also
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Jeez.
He's speaking
the more you know.
specifically to me, who knows all of this stuff.
So yeah, that's our thoughts on the
Um,
first of the rules.
Yeah.
99
Already-
to go.
Yeah, buddy. Don't worry, a few of them aren't even writing tips, so whatever.
Yeah.
Actually, guys, play a game. Make a counter for everyone that isn't even a writing tip. This is the first one, and this isn't even writing related, so I guess
Yep.
we can just mark that one.
Well, should we rotate on reading them?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, we could do that.
Well, would you guys want me to pass? Should you pass them the link to this so they can open it in their own browsers?
Oh, I already
Sure.
put that in general.
Oh, good.
Oh, I was just reading it on stream itself.
Well, I just don't want to, like, I always find that reading from stream is unreliable because of delays and stuff. So just make
Yeah.
sure. I mean, it's not going to be like
I already have
we're
it
not
open on
speed
my
reading,
end,
so
I can read it if you want, but I actually want to read number 4, so y'all too
okay.
focus on the next two.
So Twi can take the next one then.
Okay. And I gotcha. There we go. So I'm reading number 2?
Yep.
Okay. The middle point of a story is the best time to get a main couple together. Are you working on a 5-season show? Put your main couple together halfway through season 3. The finale is the worst time because we don't get any time to enjoy the payoff.
I don't think this is a writing tip.
Well,
I think
It's
it's
not
just
a writing
yeah.
tip.
personal preference.
Yeah, exactly. Like in a lot of stories, the relationship getting together thing is the payoff, right? And there are a lot of stories where that makes sense. You have two characters who aren't necessarily used to romance, or they've been burned by past relationships and things like that, and them actually coming together and finding comfort in each other and getting together is in the climax, because that is when a lot of the baggage just goes away. And honestly, a lot of ways, there are times when that is the best way to end it, because I can't come up, writers are like, I can't come up with any other ideas for this, which is fine.
I think starting the story with them getting together can be one of the fun parts. Like, it's so not even a point. Like, it's just so it's different for every story.
One of the things that me and Twi always go back to, Peach Girl. It surprised the fuck out of me, because like by the end of the first episode, the main character is confessing to her crush, who accepts her confession. I was like sitting here waiting for like to be, does she confess? Will she confess? When will she confess? How will she get I was waiting for that to be like a long string of episodes leading into it. No, right from the get-go. And the entire series just spirals out from there, because you can do a lot of interesting stuff with it. Now, I will say, one thing that is important to note is that with a lot of couples, it really depends on the dynamic you establish for them. Because some couples, they just fall into like kind of a domestic bliss, which is cute in like short bursts. But for people in general, it's not. It doesn't really grip
It's not
very
sustainable.
long. It's not sustainable. Yeah. So it's like if you want to make a story like that, you got to have something else going on the side. Like if it's an action adventure story, having characters get together in the middle actually has some benefits.
It can. But there are also benefits to having it be done in the beginning. Like the Monogatari series is a great example of this. In the first season, like the main character gets with one of the girls he saved earlier on, and it has a lot of interesting moments after that point. But there's a reason why in a lot of action stories, like for example, Aang and Katara don't get together until the end because, there's this whole war thing going on, right?
Yeah.
Have any of you watched or read the manga called Orange?
No.
I've read Citrus. Is that the same thing?
No. Unfortunately. Orange is very sad. Highly recommended. Super sad. Really recommend it.
Oh my god.
Very sad.
What would Lily's opinion of Citrus be? Oh god. I'm kind of curious now.
Speaking of manga and anime, there is an anime that is on our list to watch, Raymond, that is all about the domestic life. It's called The Way of the House Husband.
Oh, is that the one with the ex-Yakuza guy?
Yes. It is a comedy series about an ex-Yakuza who's just trying to be a good house husband, but he is way too over the top because he can't get rid of his Yakuza personality. It's great.
I've seen bits from that and just like is that your dog? Is that your dog? Can I pet them? Yeah!
Yeah.
Like two Yakuza guys just like gushing over each other's dogs. It's super cute.
Yes. So like there's definitely ways where it can work, but it won't work for everything. You can't just blanket say that you need to get a couple together halfway through the story, because what would be the purpose of that in a story where the main focus isn't the romance and where it's just a side plot that in order to help people stay invested in the story? What about, because like it can work and it can't. So it could either hurt your story to have the couple get together halfway through the story. It could help the story where the characters are supporting each other, or it could hurt in the sense that because they're not over all of the drama and the garbage that they're going through with everything else that's going on, they could break up over it, and then people would be upset.
Or maybe it doesn't make sense with their characters to make that decision at that time.
Yeah.
Bumblebee.
Josh Thomas More
Yeah,
New.
buddy.
Josh Thomas More New says, Lily's opinion on Citrus, why would you open the portal to hell? Because I know her opinion on Andy and Lele, and I know the reason she has those opinions, and I am fascinated because the dynamic in Citrus is very fucked up, especially early on, and I want to know what her reaction to that is. Like, she has a lot of hypocrisy bleeding through every pore.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It'd be wild.
So, Critter, want to read off rule 3?
Yeah. Number 3. Friends to lovers is greater than enemies to lovers. Every time.
Bullshit!
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
Zelphilia,
there's a reason why it's so
unite!
popular.
Zelphilia army, unite! Everyone go watch Slayers Try and try not to fall in love with Zell Xphilia. It is a super cute ship. I swear it.
Yeah, like
They have a child together, sort of.
You should have seen him when we're going through Slayers, because he's like, I think Zelos is an okay character. I don't love him, but I don't hate him. He's kind of mid. And then all of a sudden Philia comes along, and then they had this whole dynamic together because they hate each other. And then he's like, oh my god, they need to be shipped immediately.
Dude, Saito has it pegged. Copy shop a U.S. opinion. That's what this is. That's what this is. This is some coffee shop shit.
Are you?
Like, it goes
but,
back to what
okay,
you said.
that's
Okay.
the service to coffee shop AUs, because coffee shop AUs
Damn.
can still have like dramatic enemy rivalries going on. Like you can,
Yes,
you
okay,
can really
fair
game
enough.
it. Like the idea of like, oh, I have a rival coffee shop owner. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna outsell all this damned coffee. Oh no, our brew, it's too bitter. No one's coming to our shop anymore. Our rival's getting all of the attention. Wait. It turns out the shipment was actually supposed to go to them. Oh wait, they're giving us our bag back. They're like, no, Baka, I'm not doing this for you. I just wanted it to be a fair fight. You can make that work.
No.
You can make that work.
There's a fan-made comic. It's a coffee shop AU for Punch Out, where Little Mac falls in love with Aaron Ryan, and it's the best thing ever. That's Rivals to Lovers, and it's the cutest thing in the world, because Aaron doesn't care about coffee, he just wants to fight.
Also, Pining Tree for $5 said 3 is wrong, specifically because enemies to friends to lovers exist. Yeah.
True.
Mhm.
Yep. I will admit, I think 90% of coffee shop AUs are boring and dull, and I don't like them.
Yes.
Well, yeah. No, I don't disagree. Like, but I also
Yeah, sure.
90% of everything is boring and dull.
I was about to say, that's narrow anything down,
that's just
doesn't it?
what fallacy is that? Not fallacy. What rule is that?
Fallacy?
It's not fallacy. It's
No,
like
no,
it's like the
It's a
rule.
law.
It's a
It's
law.
a Murphy's Law kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't agree that 90% of everything and anything specific is garbage. 90% of our conversations are not garbage.
90% of Pokemon
Aw.
aren't garbage.
Yeah, 90%
That is
of
true.
Digimon aren't garbage.
It's exactly
90% of Avatar isn't garbage.
true. But yeah, like, dude, if you have a preference, number one, this isn't even a writing tip, but number two, this is just a straight up preference. And if you prefer friends to lovers, then that's perfectly fine. But the question is always, does this fit the story? And if it doesn't fit your story, if you feel that your story would be better if you had two people that were previously enemies with one another get together after finding some common ground, and it would be a relatively long or short process depending on, why they're enemies in the first place, it can be very, very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Hell, she's saying this as if enemies to lovers happens a whole lot, but like a lot of the time, I'm not sure about that. I feel like friends to lovers happens a lot more often.
Yeah. Also,
So she's
not a writing
arguing
tip.
for a preference
No.
that barely even, yeah. She's arguing for a preference that barely even matters.
Oh, this was just reminding me of like I wrote one of those like what your favorite Madoka Magica ship says about you. I sent it to Critter. I have it recorded. I just haven't edited it together because I've been so busy. But this is what this is sort of just what this is someone you got rejected by your next door neighbor, didn't you, Lily? That's what I'm like. You got rejected by your childhood friend, and you just keep pining for it. It just reminds me of what I said for the Madoka X Sayaka ship, which is you've been dancing around asking out your next door neighbor for years for fear of rejection. Just do it already. Not knowing is more painful in the long run.
No, here's the thing. When we are doing this, we are joking. We're obviously joking. When Lily says something like this, which she has in one of her videos, she's absolutely fucking serious. Like, she will take just the most banal opinion of freaking media for whatever reason and have that pretend that says something about you as a person, which, if we're gonna play that game, Lily, I don't know if you have the right to play it, you know what I mean?
I was just inspired by that whole trend of like what your favorite Pokemon says about you.
Oh
your
yeah,
favorite.
those videos are fun.
Yeah.
Those
They
videos
are.
great.
Sfeel I would overthrow a small to medium-sized country for Sfeel. That is true. So Kaiser, you wanted to read out number 4.
Alrighty, I've been prepping for this one. This is one of my personal favorites.
Oh yeah.
Victims of... Excuse me. Number 4. Victims of abuse moving away from the negative impacts of their abuse, i.e. Zuko, parentheses, and becoming healthier are not redemption arcs, in quotes. How do y'all feel about that?
Well, we have a thought from chat. Phantom of the Night. Is it tip number 4 insinuating that just because someone's a victim, that means they can't do bad things? Because Zuko did some bad things in Avatar?
No,
Yes, that is exactly what she's saying.
Yeah.
Mhm,
No,
mhm.
and guess what else? She goes into further detail, detail, air quotes, in a video about redemption arcs. And she said, yeah, Zuko was antagonistic, but he never did anything that bad. And the minute I heard that, I was all like, so there was no Zuko betrayal in Ba Sing Se. Is that where we're at right now? That's what's happening. There is no Zuko betrayal
burn
in
down
Ba Sing Se.
all of Suki's village.
Yeah, yo.
No, you see, she got an advanced screening of the Netflix version. That's why. So it wasn't Zuko.
Oh, true.
You have to be.
True.
She has to think. She's so full of herself. She must be one of the most
Yeah.
egomaniacal people in the world. To look at one of the most highly acclaimed redemption arcs with Zuko, one of the everyone's go-to examples of what a good redemption arc is, and to sit there and point up her nose and go, actually, it's not a redemption arc.
No,
so
okay. No,
I know what I'm talking about.
It's less that, and I don't think she can allow herself to believe this is possible, because to believe that people
Yeah.
that are victims of abuse can become bad people as a result of the abuse, or basically become bad people regardless of the abuse, that would then implicate her. She cannot imagine anyone being anything
Yes.
other than a victim when they are abused, as opposed to she doesn't believe in the cycle of abuse, which is a thing that we have a very clear record of. People who are abused
It's
become
literally
abusers.
in psychology. It, here's the thing, though.
Sometimes.
Right?
I should clarify sometimes. It's
Well,
not
yeah,
always.
yeah,
It's not
sometimes,
guaranteed.
sometimes, not
I don't want to be
always, but there's
misconstrued for saying that they absolutely do, but
Right.
yeah.
But what we are saying is that there is a cycle that can be perpetuated because somebody is a victim of abuse. And that's not necessarily always going to happen, but there's a there's a predisposition there, because people that are in an environment are going to take in the aspects of that environment that they believe is normal, and they're going to apply it to other things. That's how human brains work, right? However, even more with that, just bring this back into writing. How fucking dare you? You are taking part of what makes Zuko's redemption arc and other redemption arcs in media so interesting is this little thing called personal fucking responsibility. What Zuko did was bad. They were some really bad things. He wasn't a complete irredeemable monster, but his redemption wouldn't mean anything if it didn't have any bite to it. And by taking that away, you take away the accountability. You make it seem like, oh, it didn't really take all that. What is the point of him redeeming himself, both spiritually and emotionally and psychologically, if what he did was not even that bad in the first place? That's stupid.
I was gonna say there is a point here where I kind of wish that Zuko had done more evil things in the show leading up to his redemption. The most negative thing that I can think off the top of my head, besides is a betrayal, which I think that's a slightly more complicated conversation. I think his kidnapping of Aang during the siege on the Northern Water Tribe, I think that actually was very damaging, because if he hadn't done that, Suki may not have died. And I think that that
Yue?
sorry,
Yeah.
sorry.
You said wait, what?
You want to know why?
Die.
You guys want to know why? It's because in Japanese, Suki means moon. So my brain wants to
Oh,
Really?
No,
No, it does not. No way.
Yes, it does.
He actually
No.
did that?
Yes.
To
Real
be fair,
Raymond,
that
you
Suki has like a T in front of it, so it doesn't count, right?
What?
No, I was just about to say that's Suki, not Suki, Raymond.
Yes, I know. But the fine difference of the T sound. I already get tripped up on that enough. I don't need more complaints about it.
There was a comment by Libra Evie, and they said no one better tell her about it in Hazbin Hotel, about redemption arcs. That's the weirdest thing. She's in love with Hazbin Hotel. Lily Orchard thinks
Yeah.
Hazbin Hotel is like the best thing ever. And so
Yeah.
many of the things that she bitches and complains about with other shows, with kids' cartoons, is she's like, but it's done really well here in Hazbin Hotel. And it's like, I don't understand what your level of concept is.
It's so stupid.
I had
It's so
to
stupid.
there's a YouTuber who is going through Kingdom Hearts right now, and I had to
Right.
grill him on this because the problem that a lot of people have is that they say words and you don't know what they mean by it, because by virtue of people just watering down words over time,
Oh,
that could
yeah.
mean like 50 different things. So it's like,
Mhm.
well, what do you mean by this? What is the context? What do you mean by that? Okay, now explain this. Explain your reasonings for this. And we had to come to the conclusion, because I was grilling him on this, that he discovered that he disliked a writing trope in fiction that he didn't know that he hated, and
What?
and the things in his personal life that led up to his unconscious bias of this writing trope that he didn't discover before. So, like,
It's wild.
when you say blanket statements like it's bad or it's cheesy or it's good,
Edgy.
it does, or it's edgy, like that's a nothing statement because it's so broad. You have to explain what you mean, or else you've just said nothing but filler, and your
Pretty much.
opinion is therefore worthless until
Yeah.
you can explain what you mean by that word.
I was gonna say, if you need me to define edgy ever, I'm just gonna point the Shadow the Hedgehog and just walk away. Like that's all I
He's
have.
so edgy.
I love the
Like,
nickname that I think EFAP
man.
gave to him, which is Edgy the Hedgy.
Yes.
Yes.
I love that name.
Yeah,
I
that's
might,
so
I might have been
funny,
around
but-
before them. I'm pretty sure that was just like something that, yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
Sarah
I-
Redemption
I-
Arcs.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. You
Yeah.
wanted to say more about that.
No, I thought, okay, I didn't know we were going. Where you wanted to say something, you go.
Right. I just one last quick thing where it's like I said, you remove the personal responsibility by making it not as bad. But also Lily discounts the idea of spiritual redemption as well. And I'm not talking about in a religious or theologian sense, but in the sense that like there is something wrong with me personally. Like a character can have a thing where it's all like, I've been doing this and that for all my life. Like I've been a coward, or I've been lazy, or I haven't really tried at anything, and I need to redeem myself, because if I don't, a lot of the things that matter to me, I'll never be able to, keep them ever again. And those things are important to me. That is a
Yeah.
redemption in itself. That's like a subsection of that. So there's so much
Yeah.
nuance, that's the key word, nuance, to the concept of redemption arcs that Lily just is completely ignoring.
Yeah, and to that point, and with what Raymond said, like he says that he wished that Zuko did more bad things, but the thing is with Zuko, his redemption arc isn't necessarily I've done bad things, it's I think bad things. I have been
Yes.
indoctrinated to think bad things, and I have to unlearn that. I have to redeem myself from this mindset and go and heal myself from that. That is his redemption arc.
There's also another element but I'll go into the other element once we touch on the next topic, but it ties into this topic as well.
Sure.
Izanagi says, well, not even 5% in, and I'm already frothing at the mouth. This will be hell, won't it? If you are frothing at the mouth, I recommend seeking immediate medical attention.
Isa, what are you doing here? You're still on probation.
Okay, to be fair, that's bad fan fiction, Yari. That's not our streams, I don't think.
No, we banned him from all media and media discourse.
Oh, right.
And he says that he's been a much happier person since he's not been allowed to enter discussions like this, which means that it's working.
Well, let's move on so we can froth more. Lily Orchard,
And give us more money.
Number 5. Heroes refusing to kill villains who have shown to be actively trying to murder people isn't noble, it's enabling. So, Lily, If Charles Xavier were just to explode Magneto's brain,
Oh my god.
you'd be okay with that then, because Magneto has been shown to be a repeat offender multiple times over.
Well,
Interestingly,
no,
and it would
Raymond,
completely remove
because
him from
Lily
getting...
thinks Magneto is right.
Well, no, but she can't, because he can't go on his redemption arc, because that's stupid.
So the point I was gonna make, which ties into both this point and the last one, specifically when like looking at Zuko, for example, or Aang deciding not to kill the Fire Lord, there's also, it doesn't matter what the writers might initially want, they're working for Nickelodeon. And Nickelodeon might have certain things they need them to abide by, like you can't have him kill the villain. So it's not so much a writing advice, it's production. It's a corporate overlord telling you what you can and can't do necessarily. So her frothing at the mouth over Aang not killing the Fire Lord or Zuko not being mean enough with his redemption arc might just be a limitation out of the writers' hands.
Oh my god, if Netflix Avatar has Aang kill the Fire Lord, I will laugh.
Oh my lord.
It can be a writing tip if you think of it in terms of character. Because, like, I know that there are moments where a character killing a villainous character would be a bad thing. Like, there was a roleplay that I was in roughly in the early 2010s, where I had my character stop another person's character from killing the villain in our superhero roleplay. Because I knew, and my character knew, that this character struggled with the concept of being a good person, and that was part of the reason why he was doing his hero work in the first place. Because he was in a gang, and he got out of that, and he struggled with being seen as a good person. So my character stopped him with the intent of, you're going to destroy your mental health if you murder this guy, because I know that that's going to damage you beyond repair.
Right. And like that, I think that's the core thing, right? Like, it depends on the character and the context of the story. Like, for superheroes, most superheroes are just normal people who gain powers or are born with powers, who knows, who, you know, take it upon themselves to fight crime and do all this stuff. A normal person isn't psychologically built to just, you know, just sledgehammer a guy's head off. That just doesn't happen unless something along the way just went really, really wrong, right? Like, most of these characters, like Superman, Batman, they would get psychologically fucked by their own admission if they decide to kill their villains. And, you know, there are a lot of people out there that are all like, oh, well, why shouldn't Batman kill their villains? And my question is, I don't know, why hasn't freaking Arkham put these guys in the electric chair? Like, that's not Batman's job. If he had done so, not to mention, there'd be a lot of consequences if he killed, or any of these heroes just killed their villains. There are contexts in a story where killing a villain is normal, like in Kamen Rider, and that's perfectly fine as long as they're consistent about it or change in a natural way. It all fucking depends, and yet Lily doesn't care about that.
Yeah, no, she just wants to blanket statement everything. And with Batman, there's a two-pronged problem with that, because on the one hand, killing a villain would thematically go against everything that Batman stands for, but also metatextual-wise, it would make it so that you can't reuse that villain again in the comic book, because these comic books never fucking end. And that is the real reason why he could never kill these characters, is because they won't end these stories until nobody cares about this character anymore. It'll just keep going on for all of eternity until it's no longer profitable to do it.
But we all know what this is really about, guys. It's not about any of these things. It's about Steven fucking Universe and the fact that he didn't kill the diamonds.
Yeah,
That's
and
all
again,
it's
that's definitely like the corporate people at Cartoon Network being like, no, you can't kill people.
I don't even think it's that. I think I'm pretty sure Rebecca Sugar, like, her whole thing about Steven Universe and the through line for why she has it, and the at least with the diamonds being redeemed, which even though it was paced poorly because of Cartoon Network's constraints, I believe she said it was always in the cards for Steven and the diamonds to sort of reconcile, air quotes, kind of, because the point of the show is to show that like having differing perspectives doesn't make it right to try to like destroy one another, and for true progress to be made, we have to reconcile, and we have to actually talk and understand other people's perspectives, and be willing to change people's minds. That's what Steven Universe is about. Granted, I haven't rewatched it. I should, but that's the takeaway. But Lily doesn't care about that because space Nazis.
Deterex, Zuko's last name is Firelord.
Yes, I was just about to type that. I was just about to type that.
Same brain cell.
Oh,
We all have
Jonah
the same
Williams.
brain cell pass between us. That's just how it works.
John Williams, something people miss about Batman is that if Batman were to kill, then he'd no longer be able to work with the police, his allies, and he'd stop being Gotham's protector altogether. Yeah, that's another thing. Like,
There's a whole
who
thing
can
there.
you, how many times does freaking Spider-Man get shit for even being presumed to have killed someone? It ruins his fucking life.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to the next point?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Did we forget the rotation?
It's Twilight.
Twilight?
I was just about to ask if it's my turn or not. Okay. We're on tip 6.
Yep.
2 women kissing in the last episode of a show after 4 to 5 seasons of trying to murder each other isn't revolutionary. It's fetishized abuse and violence.
Hi, She-Ra fans. How's it going?
Yeah, exactly, yo. This is her mauling over She-Ra for no freaking reason.
I hate vague posting. I hate vague posting. I hate it so much.
And you know what I hate most about this is there was an openly married lesbian couple in the show since like season 3.
Yeah.
Like
Also, wait, what's her name? Castaneda
and Spinnerella.
They showed up as girlfriends, didn't they? Like from the very beginning.
They showed up
Yeah.
as wives from the very beginning. I believe they've been married the entire show.
Yeah.
I mean, I do agree in the sense that, like, no, it isn't revolutionary anymore because Steven Universe kind of did it first. And also, it's a lot easier on society for women to kiss than for men to kiss. But I digress.
But even
That's
then,
why
Hey,
all these
Lily.
pro-LGBT people write female, lesbian, or bisexual characters kissing, but never men.
right.
Hey, Lily, you gonna talk to us about fetishized abuse? Why don't we bring up Stockholm?
Want to clue me in on what Stockholm is?
Oh, you don't know.
Okay. I can clarify. I know what Stockholm Syndrome is, but I don't know what Stockholm.
No.
It's a My
Okay.
Little Pony fan fiction where Rainbow Dash and the underage character.
Oh, yeah, no.
Scootaloo.
Now I remember now. I didn't remember its name.
Yo. Yeah, yo. And as much as she denies it, we know for a fact that she wrote it, as much as she tries to hide it. I even found proof that she wrote it by accident when me and Pete were going over proof about her previous Mary Sue takes. It's just there.
Gurren
Yeah,
Prime-
she said it in previous videos.
I thought she was vague posting Utena. Possibly. I haven't finished Utena.
I mean, she hates Utena too, but I
She's
don't
never
know.
watched Utena, but she's also she's never watched Utena, but like we all know that she's talking about She-Ra here.
Which is so weird. Like, granted, I've heard a lot of critiques about that ship in She-Ra or whatever. I haven't gone past season 3, so what the fuck do I know? But fact of the matter is, like, this isn't even writing advice. Like, again, as we said before, enemies to lovers can work if there's like enough time given to these characters and why they would end up making up at the end. Right? The problem with Catador, I think the ship is called, isn't that, it's enemies to lovers at all. it's about the fact that there wasn't any buildup or responsibility
There's a
taken
lot that
by
goes into
Catra.
it. I'm notoriously a defender of Catradora, but even I recognize.
Okay.
Well, in the sense of I recognize that it was a flawed execution. I think
Right.
where it ultimately led, I've always argued that the final season of She-Ra should have been a season 5 and 6, or more accurately, what we ultimately got was really we got 4 seasons of the show, where season 2 was split into 2 and 3. That's what we ultimately got. What we should have gotten was a true season 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I think basically both 4 and 5 should have just been as long as all the other seasons and have been filled with like a bunch of different adventures with different status quos. Like, because really Catra needed a much longer period of time to breathe as becoming a part of the hero cast.
Right.
But like I appreciate
That's
what they
what
were
I
trying to do, and I liked what they were trying to do, but I think it was just rushed. I don't think it was terrible. It's more super chats here. Guts, keep in mind she only watches kids cartoons. She's hung up on She-Ra and SU when writing this shit. Also, Gutska is great enemies to friends to lovers.
Absolutely true. Guts and Casca from Berserk is a great enemies to lovers relationship. Fantastic.
Lance Corporal anime guy. She's conflating reconciliation with forgiveness. Remember Halo 3? Humans did not forgive the elites, but they have our thanks for helping us stop the evil guys. Okay, I take issue with that one on the humans' parts. Like, once you learn that the elites were brainwashed effectively into believing into a cultish religious belief, and that had been a complete lie the entire time and was leading them down a road to self-extinction, I would forget them, be like, okay, you guys did not know. You had the wool pulled over your eyes. You switched sides to help us? Thank you. You know what? A lot of shit went down. If you help us repair and kind of build back up, water under the bridge. I would say that's fair.
Also, I would like to clarify that Guts and Casca's thing is more of like a rivals to lovers rather than enemies, but like it follows a very similar through line.
The problem with Catra and Adora is the former is a controlling sociopath, and the latter has the agency and personality of a rice cracker. So basically, Sam and Max from Life is Strange, shots fired.
Oh,
damn! Didn't know we were dropping truth bombs today.
You know what? I'm not gonna. As someone who only knows bits about Life is Strange from a distance, has only seen the first chapter played through. It's a Max and Victoria. I'm a Max and Victoria shipper because I apparently have a thing for Hime types.
I put the stream in a different tab, and I got an auto-generated chat summary.
Read it. Go ahead, please tell us.
Oh, nice.
Viewers are reacting in shock to some revelations about a popular cartoon writer that has surfaced in a series of videos, which has now made them feel conflicted about previously enjoying the works of this person.
Josh, tell that to the souls who died on Reach Raymond, Rip Noble team. Look, man, when it comes down to waging a religious holy war, and then you're told that your religion is actually just a lie, like, do you know how the elites would have felt about everything they did? How many dishonorable things they are now guilty of having committed? Like, holy shit, dude, their entire society basically collapsed. Halo 4 or Halo 5's depiction of the Civil War was actually pretty accurate, all things considered. Like, hey, Halo is a lot more intricate when it comes down to forgiveness and redemption. It's a much more complicated thing. Anyway, number 7, Critter.
Yeah. 7. Twitter is not an appropriate place to reveal story details. The appropriate place is in the work itself.
What I love about
I actually really agree with this one.
Oh, yeah, I agree with this as well, but also I really love how you can just tell who she's talking about. Like, in all of these.
Yeah.
It's like, hi, J.K. Rowling, how's it going?
Yeah.
Now,
And it's not like she couldn't mention her at all. She has the freaking work out for it to spare.
Mm-hmm.
like, I will push back on this a little bit because, like, yes, when there's important stuff that needs to be in your book, if you're not putting it in your book and you're just telling it on Twitter. RT did this a lot too.
Mhm.
That was
Oh,
like
yeah.
one of the big criticisms with RT. But if it's like really small, inconsequential things that just flesh out the world that
Oh yeah.
aren't important to the story itself, I think that it's fine to do that because it's not going to hurt the story in any kind of way to leave that out of the story, but it helps with the fans and their perception of the world to be a sprinkle on top of the cake sort of thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I agree with that.
Mhm. I like supplemental material, but too often supplemental material ends up, especially with Ruby, would become
Yeah.
Vital.
too important to
Yeah.
stay supplemental.
Oh, yeah.
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 The thing is, like, I think the immediate knee-jerk reaction to this is absolutely correct is that we have been burned by this a lot. But, you know, I think J.K. Rowling going on and revealing, yeah, by the way, Hogwarts didn't have toilets for the longest time because they magicked away their poop. Like, I mean, the only thing that I have a problem with is, like, that's weird. Why would you go to technology when you had magic to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get it's kind of weird you have people shitting themselves all over the place. But, like, I don't know. It's like that episode of Family Guy where they go to the future and Stewie's just like, ah, yes,
Oh, yeah.
computer, remove excrement. And it's just like, well, wow, I don't have to go to the bathroom ananymore. It's like, ah, yes, you see, the beauty of the technology of the future. Oh, no, it wasn't the future. It was a world where Christianity never took over. That was
Oh
it.
yeah.
That was it.
But yeah, like the point of those things is that they aren't vital to the person's enjoyment of the actual story itself. These are just little like Easter eggs, little tidbits, little
Yeah.
things that don't belong in the story, but you still thought of them as an extra.
Well,
Also,
it
this
could build
is a-
hype for like future not future installments of maybe the same story, but more like future like expansion of the setting. Like you could have different stories in different
or like
directions.
the TikToks that I showed you of Epic, where he had to take out some songs because there's a character that just got written out of the story entirely because he couldn't make the character fit because the song lyrics were too silly. But he still sung them, and they're like little Easter eggs. But it's not going to ruin
a room with a moose. Sorry.
Like it's not going to ruin the overall experience of the story that the character had been written out of Epic, nor is it going to ruin your enjoyment of the story to know that he had been written out of the story or to have heard the song in the first place. If anything, it just makes you more excited for it because it's like, oh, we get to see a little behind the scenes of stuff that's like not in the background, not part of the overall story, but would have been.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess we move on to number 8.
Number 8.
So, number 8. When a character's body count is over 10,000 innocent lives, and that character is no longer redeemable. So, what about 9,999?
Yeah, I was gonna say where's the line here? Why is 1 not enough? Like,
Yeah.
What if? Okay, here's a question that for everyone that knows: Full Metal Alchemist. Who has any care about Envy once he kills Hughes? Like, the minute he killed Hughes, one guy, just one, literally the entire fan base wanted Envy's head on a pike on fire. And
Yes.
we got that, thankfully.
Rightfully.
Which I do love how one of those guys that does like shorts talking about anime, he has like the really kind of high scratchy voice, and he's just like literally the entire like sequence near the end with Envy is just clowning on Envy. It's just literally everyone just shitting on the guy.
Danny Mata?
I think that might be him.
He has great reactions. Yeah.
Guts says Spiritual
never heard of that
Redemption.
guy.
Guts, Zuko, Endeavor, Joel, DV. Who's DV?
Joel D. Is that The Last of Us or something? I don't know. Endeavor is a great
Endeavor is a great example. Endeavor is actually a guy of, because he's not he has some. It's not really so much redemption as it is atonement, which is they're very related things, but they are not exactly the same things. Redemption helps make up for a mistake that you have done. Atoning is basically trying to repay a debt.
And that kind of ties to the reason why this tip is really bad. Because, okay, beyond just the meme of like, oh, why isn't one innocent life enough and blah, blah, blah. She's just saying, hey, when a character does something really, 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 really bad, there's a sort of event horizon where it should no longer be viable to redeem that character.
Pining Tree
but
says,
I say.
Yeah, I was gonna. Pining Tree says kills 10,000 bacteria with soap. Oh no, I'm irredeemable.
Right, yo. Yo, I
Leon
kill a
says-
bunch of brain cells every time I look up anything about Lily. I'm irredeemable.
Great example of this. Great example of this is it's one of the best moments, probably the best moment in Metal Gear Solid 5. Which I don't normally get to praise because that game's writing is bad. But one of the best parts of the game is throughout the entire game, you're constantly recruiting a bunch of new people to join your mercenary team. And you end up building up this massive base. But throughout the story, people keep getting infected with this disease that's actually it's activated by speaking a certain language. It's a lingually activated disease, and it's really neat in that way. What ends up happening is a huge chunk of your men get quarantined, and it's random who it is among your base, depending on what they speak. So you can have people that are really highly rated, like mechanically very good soldiers that you've recruited end up getting quarantined. And at one point in the game, you are forced to walk through the base and execute every single person because there is no way you can cure the disease that they have. And it's going to spread if you do not eliminate it at the source. And it's one of the most heart-wrenching moments in the game. As your men, when they hear what you have to do, they all stand at attention, saluting you, and willingly let themselves die for the greater good of everyone else in the military and for you.
Damn.
And it's so fucking powerful because it's like the game mechanics and everything coming together. And it's like, is that strictly an evil act? Is that not a redeemable act? Because honestly, it's one of the most noble acts in the entire game compared to other shit you do. I think you start recruiting child soldiers. I can't remember exactly. I remember you save them, but I can't remember if you start training them as well to protect themselves, which gets into some really fucking gray areas. It's like
558 men who died under your command.
That wasn't his fault, damn it. That wasn't his fault. That was his asshole that opened the bag.
Yeah.
My boy Odysseus did nothing wrong.
Have any of you read Ender's Game before?
Yes!
I've heard of it.
Yes!
Yeah, so spoilers for this 80-year-old book or whatever.
Go ahead, I probably heard it before.
Go ahead, yeah.
Ender, the main character, they're in training boot camp kind of thing where he's playing this game to train himself and the others on how to do this mission against some other species of space aliens that they're fighting against or whatever. In the end, he goes through this big event, which he assumed was
final test.
Yeah, like the final to pass or not. And he finds out afterwards that it actually wasn't a test. He was actually piloting real ships and killing real soldiers. He just didn't realize it because they made it look like the game he had been playing the whole time. So, is he redeemed, even if he didn't know that he was killing all of these innocent lives because he didn't realize?
Well, you forget the most important part of that is he ends up genociding the entire alien species as a result of the success. It's like that's the biggest question of Ender's Game is he responsible? And what I love about that is it doesn't matter if he is or not. He considers himself responsible, and he goes on a redemption quest at the very end of the book to try and he ends up through means that are kind of beyond him, saving the alien species at the very end. But it's it's just such an arduous journey, and it's the biggest failing of the fucking movie because he literally he learns it and he walks outside, finds the egg that will bring back the species. This has been
Oh
here,
my
like right
God.
behind our base the entire time.
What the fuck?
It took him
I
like
didn't watch
Wait,
the
what?
movie. I knew I wouldn't like it.
The movie's
I'm
great.
sorry. That's what
The
they
mo-
did.
Okay,
What the
I was gonna say the movie is great, but like in the book, it took him like 10 years of traveling around the galaxy, or the I can't remember the scale of it. Take him 10 years of traveling around trying to find this thing in his dreams to try and save the bugs. Meanwhile, in the movie, he sat over it for like 10 minutes, like, oh, I can't believe I was tricked into this. And then he walks out into the desert wasteland behind their base to this rock formation, which is like the rock formation from the book. And he's like, oh, the egg is right here. It's actually been on this planet that we've been operating from this entire time. What the fuck? It's like the worst part of the entire movie, and it's at the very end. Because they just couldn't fit
That's
in that
terrible.
like 10-year journey that's like a glanced over in the novel.
Well, just have time skip.
Yeah.
Just get an
Yeah, just do
actor.
that.
Get an older dude.
But Asa Butterworth might not have grown up. He wouldn't be old enough by then. Anyway, it's a great example of like, I don't think Ender is really guilty about all that. If anything, if you know the books, his siblings, they have way more blood on their hands.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
I think the funny thing with this tip, this writing advice tip, is it actually could have been kind of sound writing advice if, ironically, it was just written better.
Yeah, yo.
Yeah.
Because like the like I said before, the most important part is accountability and the level of accountability that you want a character to have to take for their actions, whether they can, take back what was lost or not, whether it's atonement or redemption, right? It depends on how, if they are self-aware that their actions are that terrible, and if the story takes the time to actually, have them run through the moral gambit of their actions, right? Like snapshot redemptions, like what happened with Ruby with Emerald, is terrible because it just happened straight out of nowhere. And granted, that I don't think that bitch killed like 10,000 people, but it was probably pretty close. But even then, it would be fine if the show actually built up to that. But they didn't. That's why that redemption is terrible. That has nothing to do with the fucking body count. Also, slut shaming Lily. Shame on you.
I was gonna say, like, there's a pun there about body count. Periodic Pete says, been listening while packing my things, but now I'm done and ready to leave tomorrow. So besides some dragon fruit, you have my full undivided attention. Well, welcome to the stream,
Woo.
Pete. Gut says, Darth Vader. I was touching on what Kaiser said about SR. Endeavor doesn't redeem his crimes, but he redeems himself spiritually. Same for other characters. Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
That's
You can't
exactly
undo-
my point, yeah.
You can't go back in time and physically undo the wrongs that you've done, but you can work to make yourself a better person, and you can try and mitigate the pain that what you've caused.
And
in-
again, oh god.
Well,
as much as you can. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. No, that's my fault. I didn't know that you were finished or not. But I was just going to say, again, this is Steven Universe molding. Lily, this wasn't even Rebecca's fault. She didn't
Mhm.
know that the season was going to be that friggin' short. What was she supposed to do?
Mhm.
Yeah. You have to be a little bit kind to showrunners when they don't have full control over the companies that control their show.
Keep in
It's-
mind, I'm not even that... God.
It's kind of different for Rooster Teeth because we do know that for Rooster Teeth, Ruby is basically one of their bigger cash cows, so
Yeah.
they had more control than somebody like Rebecca Sugar, than somebody
Yeah.
Mhm.
like anyone working for an actual, like, I don't want to say legitimate, but I suppose like legitimate studio, like a traditional studio.
They are the ones who impose this dumbass restriction on themselves of putting out a Ruby season every single fucking year. Like, that's ludicrous in any
Yeah.
other, like, animation studio, unless they really got something good in advance, like freaking Toei or something. But even then, you're talking about giants of the industry. We're talking about an indie company, at least at the time, right? That's stupid. But even more than that, keep in mind, I'm not even a big fan of Steven Universe, but I'm willing to give it grace that, like, yeah, the Diamond Redemption was a little bit snapshot, but that wasn't exactly the creator's fault in regards to that, I don't think.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's why I say that even though that Legend of Korra is very flawed, especially in the early volume, I can't fault them for that because that wasn't their decision to make.
Mhm.
They thought that they were only going to get the one season, and then they got bamboozled by getting 3 more seasons.
You could write a book on just how they fucked over that show.
Yeah.
So, tip number 9. Tip 8 does not apply to characters for whom making them the villain was a stupid, idiotic idea, i.e. Sylvanas Windrunner, who I don't know who that is. At that point,
it's a
just
Warcraft
character. At that point, it's just a character rearrangement.
So it doesn't count if it's a character I really like.
Exactly.
Then it's just
Dude, Lily is obsessed with this chick Sylvanas, and I've been trying to find people who have been into Warcraft to fact check her on any of her Warcraft takes, and I haven't really found anyone. So any Warcraft fans in chat who are also in the freaking tundra, hit me up, please, so that I can actually get in on this. But like,
Well,
yeah, it shows her mentality on that.
Yeah, but it also by saying this rule, it invalidates her last rule entirely because it could be like, well, if you're going to make an arbitrary exception to that rule without explaining why it's an exception, then you could apply it to literally any character that rule could apply to because it's arbitrary, because you didn't explain your point. This is why I said that language is important and that you have to clearly define what you mean by these wishy-washy words.
It's very annoying because, like, when I go to reply to people that are talking about, like, Fruby over on the Ruby subreddit, they give these, like, short questions that they have several different facets to it, and I have to go into every single one. Because if I don't say something correctly and thoroughly, people are going to try and twist my words. I say that I'm complaining about the editing of Ruby and that, you know, a whole conversation got spun out of me saying that, like, the writers, I might have the benefit of hindsight, but the writers have the benefit of editing, meaning they can review their own work. But when people were like, "Oh, you can't just go back and they think that I was talking about video editing." And I'm like, no,
come on,
no.
Fuck off.
And so
It's so much the I like pancakes, so you hate waffles kind of thing.
yeah. So I had to elaborate on that, and then within that, I had to elaborate on that, and then within that, and then eventually got to this point where someone just said, "Yeah, but you haven't elaborated on this, this, and this," and I'm like, "Okay, fine." So I went on a 4 or 5 paragraph, not ramble, but like a 4 or 5 paragraph, deep, thick paragraphs of like explaining my thought processes and everything I did there and all my approaches to just try and clarify for people exactly what I thought because I didn't want to be misrepresented. And so far, no one has replied to that post because I don't think they can anymore.
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing.
It's the one...
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's one of my favorite things is like when you thoroughly shut someone down, they have no course. Like there are people that do still, and then they make themselves look like stupid. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Also, Izanagi. Tip 10 sounds similar to something Folding Ideas already said. The Thermian argument in which diegetic arguments can be used for non-diegetic issues. I don't know what you're talking about there. Twilight, please go.
I find it really fascinating that of all of the fandoms, it's the Ruby fandom that does this sin the most. That they just don't seem to understand anything about the process of making a show or making a story, and they don't understand the difference between like the major problems of editing in terms of writing the story. They don't understand the concept of writing. They just think that you slap something down and then you go. There's a lot more to writing than that.
I so remember it was volume 1 where they revealed Blake's cat ears, and there were people insisting that, because the fandom had some people in the fandom had speculated on Blake maybe being a cat, they decided to add that in suddenly on a whim, and I'm like, that's not how any of that fucking works. You're
no.
like anti-foreshadowing.
Well, that's not how it should work. But then Neo happened, and that's how exactly how it worked.
It's strange, the nature of writing is such a strange beast altogether. Like trying to make rules for writing is one of those things you got to be very careful about. Just write it well has become sort of my go-to is like, just write it well. What does that mean? It really depends on what you're trying to write. It really depends.
And actually going with this here, right? Tip 8 doesn't apply to characters for whom making them the villain was a stupid, idiotic idea. So you can just redeem a character that like killed a whole bunch of people and did all of this stuff as long as the decision to making them was like badly written. What do you mean by this? What do you mean by character derailment? What if the in the context of the story, redeeming them at that point, even if it's a stupid idea, just isn't feasible because the characters would not reasonably forgive them for those actions. There are so many freaking externalities with this counter tip that's just fucking useless.
Yeah.
Not to mention, this isn't even like, this removes the aspect of the writer acknowledging their mistakes.
Speaking of, with number 10, which I believe is Twilight.
Yeah. Everything in his story is there because the creator wished it to be there. Trying to explain away bigoted story decisions using world building is a fallacy because you put it there to begin with.
My turnaround is like, all right, hey, Lily, what if I wanted a world that was bigoted, so I had heroes that fought the bigotry because I wanted to explore what it's like to fight bigotry? Like, what if I wanted to do a more complicated analysis on the nature of bigotry, where it stems from, how there are shades of gray to the nature of it, where you can definitely get people who are pitch black on the spectrum of bigotry and those that are actually just slightly gray. Like, you can get so many details in there with a bigoted world. God, it comes back to, I'm really pissed at the next generation of D&D that's coming out because they've taken away racial modifiers to stats, and it pisses me off because it's like, the art that goes with it is actually kind of embarrassing because everyone looks just vaguely human, as opposed to you're half orc. You just look like a bigger human with kind of whack teeth and pointier ears that are short. It's like they've kind of. They've gradually
it become less diverse.
Yeah, it's made it less diverse, ironically. And the idea of, hey, we've taken away character weaknesses, so you can't, no longer do the drow, do they have a susceptibility to sunlight? And it's like, well, no, they're a species that live underground perpetually. If they come up to the surface, sun is going to be an issue for them, for their eyes, for their skin. Like, the idea of getting rid of weaknesses and pretending like it's going to somehow encourage diversity in roleplay pisses me off because that's what makes diversity in roleplay. Oh, my character has to work against it. So what does my character do? Oh, I'm wearing all dark, long clothing that covers me head to toe. I'm wearing sunglasses all the time, or the medieval equivalent of that. It stops people from thinking, and it pisses me off.
Dude, Jonah Williams has a comment that is it hits the nail on the head. So Kruby wrote Weiss as a racist because they like racism then? Is that where she's getting at?
Yes. Unironically, yes, that is what she's saying.
It's so weird. I just don't understand. Even she focuses on children's shows often, but even children's shows will have characters who are bad people to show that our heroes are better than them and to display that those people are bad people. What?
What is she even talking about?
Lance Corporal Anime Guy.
Here?
Oh, sorry, I just wanted to get the super chat out. If my show has Nazis, my heroes fight them. What the fuck, Lily? It's like, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
She says, trying to explain away bigoted story decisions using world building. So she's saying that you shouldn't justify your bigotry in your story through world building. You shouldn't explain why these characters are bigoted or why there is a bigoted element in your world building, because that just makes you a bad person.
But the whole point of world building is to create, it's literally creating the logic, the internal logic of your world. Why the fuck can't I explain it through that? It's literally the whole point of the story.
It's a uniquely childish perception I've seen, not just from Lily Orchard, but from people like Lily Orchard, where the idea is like if you're going to make a fantasy world, it should be basically kind of a utopia-esque world where there is no racism or homophobia or bigotry. And while that would be a perfect utopia and I would be thrilled, that's like to want that to be
story.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if like that's the whole point of the story is to tackle those issues. It's so childish.
This is extra credits video game Nazi logic. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Don't worry. Extra credits is on our radar. We will get to that someday.
110%. Jesus Christ. But like, and even then, okay, if pretending that this isn't Lily Orchard, I know, hard to imagine, but you know, stay with me, people. I can. If I squint my eyes and you know, tickle my ears a little bit, I can kind of understand a tiny bit, maybe, what the logic of this might be in terms of it's a racist or bigoted decision in the world building that isn't justified by the narrative in some way or doesn't add anything or something like that. I can maybe understand. It's still confusing.
Kaiser, if you'll take a super chat here from Izanagi, because I think this is a question you are particularly well prone to field. This feels like this is a more intended for people who say orcs are evil to justify orcs doing vile stuff. Please take it away, my dear Freeran Fran.
Oh, buddy. It's like
I have plenty of time, I know.
Yeah, it's so stupid. It's so fucking stupid, this mindset. Listen, evil races are perfectly fine to have in your story. You like, as long as you're not making them completely allegorical to any races in real life, it's fine to create a race in a story where it's the whole thing is about like, okay, the characters have to kill them. They have to do something about them. I made an entire video about how people have been wrong about this shit on Freeran, and it pisses me off because so many people start relaying this shit to real life and speaking for minorities like myself when that is absolutely not how this shit works. Let me tell you something, people. Anyone who is willing to go outside and start freaking whipping a black guy across the freaking street just because they saw an orc in a video game and they had fun beating them up, they were gonna do that in the first freaking place. That's not the writer's fault. And also, having a race that is inherently, like, antagonistic or vile because of, like, I don't know, animalistic reasons or things like that can be thoroughly fucking interesting and fascinating. It gives the characters a moral question of, like, is this the right thing to do? Even though they're going to do this no matter what, you know, am I comfortable with pulling some shit like this? It's all of these incredible, interesting story ideas. Nah, just throw them in the freaking trash because we keep seeing black people when we look at fucking demons. Get the fuck out of here.
It's the exact same thing with like goblins and Jews and be like, oh, well, if you automatically put a goblin in your story, then you're anti-Semitic. And it's like, you do know that goblins existed before the issues with the Jews in Europe, right? And that
that's so going to be a tip that she actually has later on.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. We're prepping for this.
Yeah, like it pisses me off a lot because going away from like the fantasy element of it, you have a religious symbol being co-opted by the Nazis, for instance, and now you can't use that symbol in the West without people giving you the side eye, and because now that's the only thing that symbol really represents. And it's like, why can't we just peel off the gross aspect that was placed on there in the first place, like a slimy little sticker, and just take it off and cleanse it? Why do we have to get rid of this?
Because people cannot look beyond themselves, Twilight. That's the fucking problem. No one wants to look at other people's experience outside of their own limited purview. Different cultures are a thing. Different languages are a thing. Different social cues and social normalcy is a fucking thing. And I'm sick and tired of people conveniently, who are supposed to be some of the most progressive or the most socially conscious people, throw that crap out the window when it's fucking convenient for them.
Yep.
It pisses me off because y'all motherfuckers try to speak for people like me and I never asked for it.
Lance Corporal Anime Guy. So I can't have my character be a outcast, Anne, because the world he lives in hates people who don't fit the parameters of normalcy despite not being his fault. Yep, nope.
Yep, pretty much.
Yep.
Get fucked. Get fucked.
I told you, Raymond. I told you. It's everywhere.
It is everywhere. Blade Charge.
We had this conversation about the consonants. Yeah, the consonant vowel degradation thing. We had that conversation, I think, last night.
Yeah. Blade Charge says, or you pull Warhammer 40k and have every action be a bad guy, but have good individuals. Or you mean every faction? Yeah, you can have that.
Yeah, I think he means faction. Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Phantom of the Night. Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben died for our sins. I'm so pissed. Like, oh god, don't get me started on that one. Aunt Jemima was one of the first like black actresses to be to be like photographed and used for production advertisement. It's like, you've taken that piece, that's such a vital piece of black history, away, and you have now whitewashed it. Like, holy shit.
I was actually talking about this the other day, just like at home, how in the attempt to get rid of the parts that made some people feel uncomfortable with Aunt Jemima or Uncle Ben, it means that there are less iconic black faces on products these days.
Yes.
Yep.
I mean, there's like, it's so weird. It's trying to it's doing the opposite of being inclusive.
They took away my Cinnamon. Come on.
You like Cinnamon.
To a lesser extent, and I know that this is kind of a first world problems kind of addition to that, but a lot of autistic people can't handle branding changes. They view a lot of the brands as a completely different product once you change the branding. And to a certain extent, that happened to me, because I thought that once they had changed the branding, I didn't know what they changed it to. So I almost stopped buying the product entirely because I didn't know that it was the same thing. Because they changed the name from Aunt Jemima to just the name of the company, which I didn't fucking know.
Pine Tree says, if goblins are inherently anti-Semitic, then wizards are pretty sus too. It's all situational, fellas.
Oh, Wizards of the Coast have gotten so much flack for so many different things.
No. I think he's saying wizards in general.
This stuff.
Like wizards, not Wizards of the Coast.
I mean, you're not wrong, Kaiser, but
they've gotten so much unnecessary shit. I wish they stopped cucking out to these people.
Periodic Pete says, to Twi, you'll be happy to know a local theater near me uses the manji symbol on their tiling, and it's been that way for nearly 100 years. Neat.
That does make me happy.
Based.
Thank you.
Okay. I think we can read 11 and 12. Actually, I think 11, 12, and 13 are all part of the same. Yeah, they're all part of the same combination of things. So, Critter, if you will.
11. Don't pair adults with minors. That's pedophilia. Lily would know all about that, wouldn't she?
Oh,
Number 12. Don't sexualize teenage characters. She would know all about that, wouldn't she? Can you scroll up a little bit on the on the
so I can what did 13? I tell you? It becomes
I'm sorry. It was working out so fine and I wanted to be right. I'm a fool. Number 13. Don't make up weird anime excuses for sexualizing teenage characters. actually 1,000 fusion age of consent X country is. See Rule 10.
Okay. Number one,
This
when
is
the
just
hell
racist.
did anybody?
It is. She had a similar thing that she was talking about in her stupid Delicious in Dungeon video, and I was like, yeah, because in America we've never sexualized women before. Wait, watch as all these women bend over backwards in Michael Bay movies, or there's a million other examples I could come up with. To insinuate that only Japan or only anime things sexualizes female characters is just sexist and racist, and I hate her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, new
Mike-
Deterex, all right?
I was gonna say Michael Bay's Skibidi Toilet coming soon. Don't. I still can't believe that's a fucking thing, and I cannot wait for the lawsuit that happens.
Yes.
Oh dear.
Well, because like it's Skibidi Toilet is based on assets from Gary's mod, which is all Valve owned. So that's gonna be
Did you hear that the people who make Skibidi Toilet
are
tried
allegedly
to
suing Gary from Gary's mod. Yeah. something like
yeah.
That's so weird.
That's
I'm so
wild.
glad that I don't know anything about that.
I'm so glad I'm out of the loop on Skibidi. I don't give a shit about that.
Me
Yeah.
neither. But yeah, I mean, me too. But like, also before we get back on the subject real quick, Izanagi wanted to clarify a Thermian argument is one that replies to criticism of a text with an in-universe justification for why the thing happens in the text, ignoring the actual argument in order to defend the text.
Well, if you can justify it within the body of the text, then it's fine. I mean, no one looks at Lolita and is like, yes, this is totally endorsing pedophilia.
Yeah, no.
I know, right?
It's like,
I did say at the end of my video, though, I guess spoilers for the video that I'm still working on, that Lily wouldn't understand the point of Lolita and actually think that the book would be promoting it.
Yeah.
Lance Corporal anime guy, 11, 12, and 13, almost like that's a culture and time thing. It is. Like,
Yeah.
when you actually think about it, like the nature of adulthood has such a strange, like, we were talking about the other day, is that you were considered an adult upon puberty. Like, that was basically it. So 12, 13-year-olds, I mean, you don't want to think about it, but back then that wasn't completely out of the ordinary. I mean,
I was actually, I saw a video, it was a while ago, but it was on TikTok, and it was a therapist talking about how they had teenage patients who were like struggling emotionally because they were attracted to teenage characters, but didn't know how to comprehend that concept because everyone always says don't sexualize teenage characters. Even though they were teenagers themselves, they felt like it was something that they shouldn't be doing. They should only see adult characters as sexualized. And so it's an interesting discussion of the age of the audience, and do you as a creator try to do things to cater to that specific audience, even if it's outside of your specific age range or not?
that's always like a conversation.
That's literally the thing, right? Because most anime that do this, remember, anime, for us, it's like teenagers. But in Japan, for the most part, it's like freaking elementary school to up, right? Like that, and those are the types of audiences that they are catering these things to. Like I said, culture and things like that are different. And there is a very complex discussion that you can have about the ethics of doing that in your story. But to say that it's just blanket, it's pedophilia, it's all wrong, there's no exceptions, there's no nuance that we can have with it, fucking ludicrous. Coming from a chick who knows nothing about Japan by her freaking admission.
There's also there's the complicating factor, the fact that a lot of Japanese adults, their fondest memories are of being teenagers, and so for them, anime is an escape back to a better time in their life, but they are also bringing with them their adult mentality and needs as well. Like, there's something there as well to discuss. Like, now, let's be clear. If you're sexualizing children for the audience of adults in a way that's making them want to do these things, like, there's a whole... God, it's such a messy fucking conversation. I don't even know where to start with this.
It's a messy conversation that shouldn't be focused around someone with as emotional strength as Lily Orchard.
Yeah.
Emotional strength. Give me emotional stroke.
I was going to say that I had actually had a conversation like this in the Tundra, I think a couple of years ago by now, where there was somebody who thought that sexualizing children in novels meant for a teenage audience was disgusting because it was written by an adult. And it's like, well, children aren't going and writing novels and sending them off to a publishing company. Like, they just don't do that.
Yeah.
Like, adults have to write these books, and they're writing them for teenagers, and they're writing them because YA is all about exploring sexuality and coming into your own and preparing yourself for adulthood. That is what a YA novel is. So how can you not have a book that is written by an adult and not exploring the topic of young adult? It's just impossible. You can't do that. You have to have an adult who understands the exploration, but through the eyes of someone who has been through that and has a mature mentality about it, and can write it and portray it properly so that children can see themselves in these characters and be able to empathize and sympathize with them.
Yeah, and like I said, it can be tricky, right? It can be a tricky thing. It can be a tricky line to go under. And there are ways of utilizing those aspects that are really cringe or really bad, or just a little bit, or just circles back into being creepy without adding much to the story. That's fair. That's an actual tip that you can give to someone, right? None of these are freaking tips. Like, what if I write a story where it's about pairing an adult with a tiny human, right? And it's meant to be, portrayed as bad. And it's meant to be portrayed as being unethical. And it's, running through the gambit of how would this even function, right? Any a realistic saying like that. Can I just not do that? Is it pedophilia if I do that? This is the problem. You have so many characters left in these posts that you can actually spend to explain yourself, but you choose not to.
Jonah Williams
ridiculous.
says not all stories are meant to be comfortable, but all stories are meant to be well written. Exactly.
Yes.
And Josh says, Lily, Japan sexualizes minors. Meanwhile, Ruby has Yang.
LCP and Lance Corporal Anime Guy. It's like she never heard of something like history. That's true. Salinas says Lily straight up hates anime fans for recommending shows. She even claims the Japanese language has no nuance, so there's nothing lost in translation, which is the furthest.
She said that in her Spy Family.
Oh my! It's just the first because me and Twilight are both people learning Japanese, and one of the things you learn earliest about Japanese is that a lot of the conversation is implied. You have to know the context of the conversation, and there was a guy that does these quick little shorts on YouTube talking about some things in the language, and he's like, a lot of Japanese conversation is you and your person you're talking to building the conversation together to kind of figure out what you're each talking about, which is really interesting and really fascinating, and honestly weird from a Western perspective, but I find it really cool. And it's like, what the fuck, no nuance? Literally you don't use freaking pronouns half the time, so you have to figure out who someone's talking about.
Also, to clarify, Lily hates it when anyone recommends her things that aren't in her little clique group. If you dare to recommend her something that she might actually enjoy, or even imply that's a story trope that she bitches and moans about constantly can be done well. Dun. I know, crazy thought, I know. She will go freaking ballistic at you for absolutely no fucking reason. And she'll make you seem like you're the goddamn asshole just because, hey, maybe you can talk about this thing that might be enjoyable and vary up your fucking content for once.
It's really weird. It's really weird that she even has
These people eat it up! These people just sit here and take it!
Okay, Kaiser, calm down.
It's really weird that she even has a YouTube channel or an internet presence at all, because she's so insistent on staying within a very small bubble where she is comfortable. So I don't know why you would even bother putting yourself out on the
She
internet
craves
to make
attention.
videos
It-
where you're inevitably going to come across something that is different than what you perceive.
It's attention seeking.
Yeah.
I'm watching EFAP right now is covering the fall of Darth Boogie the Wide.
Oh, I got 2 hours into that so far. It's so long.
It's so long, but there's so fucking much to cover with him. But it's the truth is, like him, I think there's a lot of people. I mean, you don't go onto the internet because you don't want attention. At least you don't do what we do. Don't make videos if you don't want attention. No, you want people to see your things. You want people to talk about your content. You want people to interact with it, or you have something to share. If you don't have something to share because you feel like it's a benefit, then you have something that you want to gain in terms of like attention. So like
Exactly.
that's what I think she wants. She wants attention with none of the consequence.
No,
Yeah.
exact. That dude, I was talking about this in Psy's server yesterday because one thing that Lily always fucking does is vague posting about fandom bullshit. Fandom this, fandom that. Even when she's talking about something specifically, she can't get the fucking fandom's dick out of her mouth, and it infuriates me every single time she says that in her freaking videos. And I try to just rationalize it. It's like, why does she keep torturing herself by running through the gambit of talking about the fandom of a show or a writing trope or something like that, instead of just talking about the trope or the show and sticking with that? It's because she has a victim. She either A, has a victimhood complex, B, she wants a sense of belonging to a community, but only as far as that, community curates to her own hyper specific tastes, or B or C both, basically. And it's crazy.
Going into the attention thing, this is why I always say, if you don't want people criticizing your fanfic, then don't post it on a public platform.
Yeah.
If you can't handle people having opinions about your work that aren't just kissing your ass, then don't post it publicly. If you only wanted to share it with yourself and your friends, then pass around your Google Doc. You don't need to post it onto AO3 or fanfiction.net. You do not need to do that.
Hell,
That is a
even
thing
if
that you can
in fact,
not do.
I find posting on fanfiction websites to sometimes be kind of cumbersome. So it's like you're just putting more effort on your plate to get yourself pissed off.
Exactly, yo. And she does this for all of her freaking videos. It's infuriating because it distracts from the main points that she is talking about. Because now I not only have to contend with her argument and why it's stupid, but now I have to go on defense or steel man the position of people that she'll never even cite the sources of. Like, she never shows proof of whoever the fuck she's talking about. And even when she does, she's completely goddamn wrong. Like, there's a guy that was trying to ask her a question about, like, world building or something like that, and she goes ballistic on this person for no reason. Jonah Williams says, Lily Orchard is just an alternate universe version where Lilith Frering got lucky enough to brainwash an audience into making an echo chamber around her words like they were scripture.
I'm not convinced that
Her
they're
words have
different
never
people.
been spoken.
I'm not convinced they're different people.
We've made
honestly.
we've made jokes where we're like, well, we've never seen Lilith Farron and Lily Orchard in the same room.
And they have shockingly very similar qualities. Like, they both vague post about things. They both hate Modica Magica, and they both hate Dragon Age. And I'm like, the more I'm like, they could be the same. I really don't know.
Actually,
Okay. I was gonna say Lance Corporal anime guy. Given her clear hatred for God, I can think of a few. And then there was something else before this. I think this is Gurren. Yeah, Gurren Prime. I feel like this comes to what Kaiser said earlier about racism. If someone would do it IRL because of a story, they'd have done it anyway. Yeah.
Facts. Also, one last thing before we move on. Here's a writing tip for you people. Don't be a fucking pussy, okay? If you think that there are people, don't quit this vague posting bullshit. If you think that there is behavior that you think is wrong and that you think is cringe and you want to talk about it, name freaking names or show screenshots and blur out the name so that we know who the fuck you're talking about. if you do that, it will give your audience an understanding that, okay, this is a real situation. I am taking this seriously as a real situation that this person is talking about. Let's move on with the discussion. There you go.
Because when you vague post, it just tells me as a reader of your vague post that if you don't want to be more specific, because people will bring better arguments against you if they know the specifics.
It's not a big deal then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it possible to make myself louder? I was sitting back, so I imagine that's probably why. I'm sorry.
That's why.
I was getting relaxed.
How dare you get comfortable on this stream about Lily Orchard?
Right.
Sorry, like
This is supposed to be a torture session, guys. Jesus Christ.
Look, my legs are getting tired from kicking the horse so much.
That's quitter talking, you know it.
So, number 14. I think it's Kaiser's turn, I believe.
Yes, it is. Also, before that, I gotta respond to Daigato. Lesson, show the proof. Lesson is, Pixar didn't happen. There you go.
Yeah.
Anyways.
The old adage.
Yep. All right. 14, right?
Yep.
Making a metaphor. Oh my God. It's the star of the huge turd shit.
Yeah.
Do I need to read like all of these? Or I will if you want me to.
I think you can do 14 and 15 together.
Yeah, I
they
think
seem...
that's fine, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, 14 and 15. Making a metaphor for gay trans ace rep is always inherently inferior to just making a gay trans ace character. 15. If there are humans in your story, restricting gay trans ace rep to the non-human characters makes you a huge turd.
The Hearth guy, you got comfortable while talking about Lily Orchard, teach me your ways. It's not caring. It's about not caring at all about what the fuck she's saying because she's awful.
True.
Like if she has a point, it's like, oh, interesting. But then as I'm going, like, none of these are correct. You're just a bad person.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
yeah,
I disagree with
Yeah.
these takes to a certain degree because I think that metaphor can be very beautiful and it can help people to understand a concept that they would otherwise struggle with if you just blatantly show it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, here's the thing. Your story isn't necessarily better or worse for having whether or not your representation is metaphorical or literal, right? If it fits the story to have an actual gay or trans or ace person, then fine. That's fitting for the story. But if it doesn't fit your story and you would rather have them be aliens that are coded as gay or are gay or something along those lines, but you're using them as a way to explore those concepts in a high fictional way, then it's fine. We can explore so many other different concepts of life and reality and everything. And we can do it in symbolic ways all the freaking time, all day, all night. But the minute that it applies to freaking gay people or trans people, it's out of line. Get the fuck out of here.
I was gonna say
It's not...
Oh, you go.
Yeah, you go, Raymond.
Okay. My advice to writers typically leans into try to speak to universal truths. I mean, you can definitely get specifics in there, but try to speak to universal experiences and then draw parallels between universal experiences and the thing that you want to point towards. Because my experience is if you try to directly insert something that is going to be, to some people, offensive, and your intent is to try to win them over to your side of the argument, doing it directly is oftentimes more or less just off-putting to them, and it's not going to win you any fans. If you want to actually try and garner support for your side of the argument, you have to be gentler with it. And I understand that can be very frustrating for people that want to see their own representation in media, which I don't necessarily understand as someone who's a redhead and don't often see redheads in media, but I relate to a lot of people, just putting that out there. But like at the end of the day, if you want to see this change, you've got to be patient and you've got to be a little more cautious with it. I don't know. I'm trying to not sound like an asshole about this, but it's just an unfortunate truth that you can't just deny.
I'll bounce that into what I was gonna say because it's kind of related. I think it was Lance Corporal or Isa, I don't remember which one, but they mentioned how Lily just doesn't seem to know about history, and
yeah.
I love watching old like black and white movies and old media. And one thing I heard nonstop when I was at university was the Maltese Falcon, and that it is famous for having a scene that is like heavily implying a gay relationship, or at least a man wanting a gay relationship with another man. But they can't say it because back in the day, you didn't say things like that because it's from like the 30s or 40s or whatever. But, you know, to ignore our history with concepts like this and to see how they approached these topics and tried to allude to these topics through metaphor when it wasn't as socially acceptable to outright say it or to outright show it, I think if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it, kind of thing.
Exactly.
So, and that's the kind of thing. Like, we've made great strides, especially in like the LGBT community and LGBT representation, especially in modern day. But it would be foolish to think we just got here magically. We would have to. Yeah. We need to acknowledge the vague metaphors that we had to have beforehand, in order that slowly led us to the point that got us here to where we are now and will continue to move us into the future. And I think that's what you're trying to say, Raymond.
It's all about that. And then there's Orion Lupin. Sorry, I just want to get the super chat out. Not sure if it's a good metaphor or not, but there's a gay metaphor in Nightmare on Elm Street too. Yes, there is. I don't know as much about that film, but yeah, I know that's a pretty famous one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, actually, John Thomas with his comment. It's also funny how Lily supported Sokka's sexism being changed, because if it communicates the same theme, then the specifics don't matter. But here is where she draws the line. Exactly. Oh yeah, I think she said that in her live action Avatar review. Yeah. Oh my god, I haven't even seen that video. It's already the worst thing I ever heard.
Should we cover that?
Lord.
Oh.
It's an hour long. It's an hour long.
Oh, okay. Maybe we'll save it for a rainy day.
Do you want to do a multi-part?
Well, we might. Quite frankly, we are 2 hours in, and we're up to number 15.
I know. I knew this was going to happen.
we might only get to like 25. I think that might be a safe cutoff, and we'll just save this for another week. I don't know if we want to go back-to-back multi-parter on this, but we'll see. I think...
Especially because next week, Rebel Moon comes out.
Oh, wait, does it come out this week, or does it come out next week?
August 2nd. So this next Friday.
Fuck. I'll be in Otakon during that time, so I'll
You'll have to binge it on your way home.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it, because I might also have plans. I might be seeing Deadpool and Wolverine Tuesday or on Monday. I don't know which one.
Okay. We'll see.
We've been going through these ones pretty fast.
Right.
But
yeah, but we have been clumping them together. I don't know how well we can keep doing that, but we'll see.
Yeah, I know.
16 and 17.
Yeah, well, let's see which ones match up. Okay, yeah, these three actually line up pretty well.
Yeah.
So 16, if the only gay man in your work is a foppish diva, you're a huge turd. 17, if the only lesbian in your work is an aggressive rageaholic with vague angst issues and a codependent relationship to a protagonist, you're a huge turd.
That's
really specific. And 18,
it's just the vague posting again.
If your only non-binary character is a non-human shapeshifter, you're a huge turd.
Oh my god.
It's just She-Ra's shit.
Keeps going with... Dude, we keep... All right, let's just combine all the huge turd bull crap anyways. Because
that's what I said.
All this amounts to is just that, okay, if you go into... the problem is that she doesn't understand that anything can be a stereotype, but stereotypes aren't necessarily inherently bad. You can write a story where there just so happens to be a lesbian with anger issues and have that be written well, which is what Ruby was trying to do.
Let's have Raymond finish reading them out.
Right. 19. If your only autistic character is an ethically challenged number fetishist, you're a huge turd. How many of these are there going on?
A lot.
Okay,
You
I'm
can
not,
definitely
I'm
tell, like,
Let's just
she started to write some tips, and then she got to, like, this section where she just, like, thought of filler stuff, and then she got to
Yeah.
52 or something. It was like, I'll just make it 100 or whatever.
yeah, well, I was gonna
Yeah.
say, like, I do have thoughts on all of this because, like, foppish divas can be fun characters. Just pointing it
Yes.
out,
Yeah,
like,
but let's get through all the turd ones though.
well, I don't know how many are there turd ones totally, because I could be going down like 12 of these.
After playing
let's-
Baldur's Gate 3 and seeing how awesome Astarion is, who I would classify as a foppish
I was
diva.
gonna say Astarion, like, there's that whole thing where you blow up a tentacle with him inside it and you resurrect him. He's like, what the hell was that? It's like, oh, next time. Oh, no. There will be no next time. No, next time you'll be the one in the temple and I'll be the one pulling the trigger on the world-destroying super weapon. Like, I said, that delivery is beautiful.
I will just say, I had this argument with Lilith Farron too, because she said that you're a terrible person if you code a robot as an autistic person. And I'm like, motherfucker, we do that. We have every single robotic character is the ones that we autistic people code as autistic. You cannot tell us that we can't do that.
Izanagi says, example of foppish, it's fop-ish diva. Common writer Gaim has an over-the-top gay guy, but he's treated with respect and never seen as a joke. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. The matter is how characters treat each other. That's really the end of the story. And then also how it's framed. Because if you have a bunch of people treating a foppish gay guy poorly, but it's framed as a tragedy that the gay guy is suffering as a result of him just being himself, like, there's a whole way to go about that. That's actually perfectly fine, because the point of a tragedy is to tap into something tragic.
Or if you have a story where it's basically like a 90s sitcom or something like that, and every character's some kind of freaking stereotype, and the freaking gay character being a foppish diva is a joke, that's perfectly fine if all sides are equal.
I was gonna
like,
say,
anything the Wayne brothers does, like Scary Movie.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that they lean into those stereotypes is like 90% of the jokes, and they're great.
Dude, Scary Movie 3, just the black guy with the freaking, like, it was a pitchfork or a shovel, and he cocks it, and a shotgun shell comes
that's
out.
so funny.
It's so funny. It's such a small gag, but it just sticks out to me as, like, the best gag in the entire film.
I always think of the girl who's in the movie theater, and she's, like, yelling at the screen.
And everyone kills her, and the killer doesn't have to do a thing.
I love the Scary Movie franchise.
Oh god, they're so good. Well, no, they're not good. They're but they are funny. Like, some, I think 2 of them are good. I'm not sure about all of them. They started getting kind of stupid.
True.
Epic Movie sucked.
Early Scary Movie is good.
If the only lesbian in your work is an abusive rageaholic, this is literally just Katra, who isn't. But at the same time, like, A, the main character is a lesbian. B, you have married lesbian characters. C, you have several other lesbian characters. She's not the only lesbian character. My God, the reason you're vague posting here is because people would call you the fuck out on this.
Yep.
18. If your only non-binary character is a non-human shapeshifter, you're a huge turd. People love Double Trouble. People love Double Trouble. Come on.
Yeah. There are non-binary people who have encouraged me to make non-binary characters into shapeshifters, or to make the children of shapeshifters in non-binary. Like,
no, but
they
they're
have
wrong.
Encouraged me to do that.
They're wrong, Twilight. Their voices don't matter.
I was going to say, deep lore on me a little bit. If I had any superpower, one of them would totally be, like shape-shifting to some degree. I would love to be able to ship-shape.
You become a ship.
I am Boot! Hear me toot!
When I think of like a non-human shapeshifter who's non-binary, I usually think of like god-like characters, like the most powerful people in the whole universe within the confines of the story. But that makes them a huge turd, I guess.
I was gonna say, the like one of my favorite. It's not really a person. It's The Thing from John Carpenter's The Thing, and it's like one of my favorite it is my favorite monster of all time because it's such a complicated beast because we have so little knowledge about it. But what it does in the story and how it affects the characters around it is just fascinating. And like what's the scariest part about The Thing is what if it turns out this entire time it's altruistic and we just don't understand it. And like there's questions there that could be raised and explored, and it fascinates me. And like you can do that with any kind of shape-shifting character. You can use them to explore all those kinds of ideas. Someone I don't understand, but you can try to understand through a character like this. It's there's a lot that goes into it. It's a very complicated topic, and you're an asshole for just outright denying us the room to explore.
Yep. So
I guess I'll let you take
you
over
can
the
probably
next three, or
the other turd ones that are basically the same.
20.
Well, I was gonna say like we could like trade off in pairs of 3 and kind of like shotgun these, but like still touch on them to a little bit of depth.
Okay. If the only trans woman in your cast is a drag queen in all but name, you're a huge turd. If you force a woman to kiss her abuser, you're a huge turd.
What
If
number
you
did you go
sideline-
We skipped over.
Oh, what?
The next one was the autistic character and ethically challenged number of fetish. That was the next one.
No, you read those.
Oh, I did. Sorry.
Yeah,
Black
did.
character. That was the next one. Number 20.
I thought
Number
you
20.
read that one too.
I did not read that one, I don't think.
Okay.
Yeah.
If your only black character is a volatile, hyper-angry brute, you're a huge turd. If the only black woman in your cast barely gets any screen time except to be fetishized, or if it's in Rule 20, you're a huge turd. If the only trans woman in your cast is a drag queen in all but name, you're a huge turd.
I meant like black character. The only black character is a hyper angry brute. You're a huge jerk. I mean,
Like,
Be
potentially.
specific.
Be
dude,
specific.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what does this even mean? Like, some of the best stories made by black people, some of the best like movies and shit. Does freaking Ice Cube's character from Friday fit into this definition? Like, really? Is Ice Cube and freaking the producers of that movie for Friday huge turds for making his character that way? What if they wanted it that way? Like, there are so many aspects to the black experience, and there are a lot of stereotypes that, surprise, surprise, aren't necessarily wrong. The problem with stereotypes in regards to storytelling, especially ones that were told in the past, is that people use them in ways that are meant to degrade, black people, or they don't explore us in any deeper depth. That is the problem with stereotypes back then. Or negative stereotypes. That's the problem with that. You are using fiction to denigrate people in reality.
I'm trying to
But
think of the last
utilizing
time.
stereotypes.
I'm trying to think of the
Yeah,
last
when has
time
this
I saw a
happened in the
black
last
character
10 years, though?
hyper
When has this
angry-
happened in the last 10 years?
I'm trying to think at all of a black character that's displayed this way that isn't already among a much more diverse black cast. Like,
Ironically, in Lily's attempt to not seem like a stereotyping racist, she actually ends up landing on the most stereotyped racist depiction she can think of, from like an out of touch lens on the concept.
She is proof that horseshoe theory is a thing.
my
The thing that kind of really frustrates me is that I'm pretty sure that Lily does have this mentality that the concept itself is the thing that is racist, and that if you are a person that fits in the minority that the stereotype is pointing to, then you are just hating yourself. There is no other reason to think otherwise other than you have self-hatred. It's literally a catch-22.
Yeah.
You cannot win.
What if this turns out? No, I just hate other black people. Like this, just be like, no, I'm racist against everyone that's not me. It's just...
Also, what if the counter stereotype becomes the stereotype? Like, okay, I guess I'm not gonna have them be a brutish black
Congratulations,
guy.
they
I'm
are now
making
all
one-
Urkel.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly, yo. And okay, let's not make him Urkel. Let's make him more emo. Okay, that becomes the stereotype. Well, okay, you end up wrapping yourself in all of these unnecessary knots. Black people are fucking human beings. Trans people are human beings. Gay people are human beings.
Mhm.
Anybody can fit into any possible stereotype. It's part of the human experience. Get over it.
I want to know what
And-
she's watching where this is happening. Like I
Yeah.
haven't
Yeah.
literally, I'm scraping my brain to think of a single instance where a black character is depicted as volatile, hyper angry brute. Like I can't think of one at all. Like I can think of maybe Static Shock, but there's tons of
Yeah.
black people in that, and they're all varied because they're all different human
Yes.
beings. They're all very
Mhm.
Yeah.
unique characters. So it's
And
like,
all of them fit into different stereotypes as well. It doesn't make them bad.
And Lily won't she won't have a huge turd comment about straight people or white people,
Oh, true.
which is
No.
it's just her othering minorities by trying to be like, and make sure don't do this, but she's only using minorities as her examples, so she's just othering them.
Well,
This
that's-
shouldn't be something that should be specified,
it's weird
honestly.
because
Yeah.
I think the reason why she doesn't is because she thinks it's okay. Any of the stereotypes for white people that are negative, they're okay
yeah.
to do. That's
Mhm.
why.
Yeah,
but it's
because she
ironic how it comes
subscribes-
around like that.
Yeah, because she subscribes to the whole power plus privilege bullshit, which is so fucking stupid. Like,
Barrett
if
from
you're
Final
being bigoted
Fantasy
toward-
VII? No.
Oh yeah,
Barrett from
I-
Final
dude, I
Fantasy
mean, she
VII
would
is
probably-
like when you actually dig into his character, he's probably one of the most complex characters in the
And
entire
that's the
fucking
thing.
cast.
Mhm.
That's the thing. The reason why people use stereotypes in their story, usually, and why it probably is so hard for us to think of characters in the past 10 years that are just stereotypes and nothing else, is because for so long, that's not even the case. Every single character that we can name that probably fits into some kind of stereotype has a lot of depth to them once you peel back under the hood. Steve Urkel has a lot of depth to him. Virgil Hawkins, Static, is a great character who's black, who has a lot of depth to his character, and especially friggin' Barrett. You want me to look me in the eyes and tell me Barrett is a bad character just because he fits into a trope? Get the fuck out of
Barrett
here.
is a man.
This is-
Yeah, sorry. You.
Right, let me go
Yeah.
because it's been a while. But this is why I say that when you blanket statement something as just inherently negative and say that you can no longer do this anymore, that is the problem in and of itself, because people can represent a stereotype. People can not be a stereotype, and in order to properly represent somebody, sometimes you have to represent the stereotype. But once you make everything a stereotype, then that just means that you can no longer do anything with the character
Yes.
at all.
Mhm.
You might as
Yes.
well not do it at all. Well, in order for me to not be racist, I can't have black people in my story, because anything that I try to do is going to automatically be racist. And I don't want to be racist, so I might as well just not have any black people in my story.
One of the
And then
funniest
she'll call
moments-
you racists for doing that, yeah.
Exactly, exactly. It's unwinnable. It's an unwinnable scenario.
One of the funniest moments in any of David Cage's games was in Fahrenheit, also known as Indigo Prophecy, depending where you are, where one of the main characters goes to a library to get a book, and the person who owns the library or whatever is like this old Chinese dude, and he's talking in this old wise man Chinese dude voice, and even the main character, the character is like, "You're kind of weird, dude. That's not like what?" And at the very end of the entire sequence, the guy's like, "Yeah, no, give me $25." It's like, what happened to the old man? It's like, yeah, no, tourists love it. I just play into that. And it's like, it's this great like moment of like, okay, all right, that was kind of funny. Okay, it's like you've been like leading on like, wow, this game is really fucking racist, and it's like, oh no, it's just this guy who's just playing it up because it gets him more money. He's like, all right, you know what? I can never respect the game. But with this mentality, you can't have characters like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah, Indigo
Should we
Prophecy
move on
is
to the
wild.
next 3?
Yeah.
Yeah. Since I did 4 accidentally, start with 24.
Oh, you hit 23. You didn't hit 23. You missed.
No, I did, and then you stopped me right after I finished it.
Oh, did we get all the way through it? Okay, my bad.
Should I go with 23 or 24? What am I
Start
doing?
wherever you like. Go ahead.
I'll swing by 23. If you 23, if you force a
Sure.
woman to kiss her abuser, you're a huge turd. That is a concept that involves nuance. Okay. 24. If you sideline every non-white character in your cast to focus on a white boy with anger issues and a tendency towards hostility getting a redemption arc, you're a huge turd. Again, that's so, like,
Specific.
That feels like something would be something specific. 25. Justifying horny armor designs or horny clothing designs with sexual agency makes you a huge turd. Characters don't have sexual agency. You made them that way as a justification. See Rule 10.
Oh, that's a complicated fucking one. And Kaiser's dead.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, he's having internet issues, and we're gone.
Well, Anazi Archive says, the Ishval War of Extermination. Enough said. I don't remember what it's in
Okay,
relation
so I was actually talking about the last one the other day, I think 2 weeks ago in my Digimon streams. So there's a character in Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth called Nokia, and she has a very sexualized design. Like, she basically wears a lingerie piece that is just 2 strips of fabric that are tied together with string, and then she has a hoodie on that's open, and then stockings, like thigh-high stockings, and that is her design. And normally, apart from the character design in general just being garbage, I still think that despite the fact that I think that the character design itself is garbage, it still fits within... It's still a good character design because of Nokia's personality. Nokia is a girl who wants to be seen as beautiful, wants to be seen as sexy, but she is naive to the idea of what that actually entails. And so she actually gets into situations that she can't handle because she doesn't know what it means to be a sexual person, because she's just a teenager.
Mm-hmm. Another thing about the whole thing only really makes sense if you look at it from the perspective of a straight man writing the character. Because with the concept of, like, giving your character sexual agency, what if you are writing a female character who's, like, recapturing her sexuality because you as a female is trying to, like, work... like, use the character as, like, a mouthpiece for your own concepts and ideas. But Lily would never think of that, because Lily, weirdly, only perceives the world of writing from a straight man's perspective.
Yeah. It's very ironic. And, like, to be fair, there are characters out there that I do think their designs, their sexy designs, don't fit their characters, don't fit their personalities. Their stories have nothing to do with their sexuality. Their personalities don't lend to them being an outgoing, sexually suggestive or provocative person. In fact, some of these characters can be very shy and very reserved and very closed off, and yet they'll basically be wearing a bikini the whole time.
Mm-hmm. It's another one, like all of her writing tips, there's nuance to all of it that she ignores.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I'm back.
All right.
Welcome back.
Kaiser lives.
Kaiser lives.
Yeah, they're never gonna keep me down.
No, so, like, I think of Bayonetta specifically, one of my favorite characters.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I love her because she is so, like, open about her sexuality and openly flirts with people, and that's a very cool element for her character. But
Right.
so should I not admire her for these elements? Because you can't make girls sexy, apparently. Girls are not allowed to be sexy because that's bad, according to Lily.
But she will never apply the same standard to men. Oh, it's
Mhm.
fine to sexualize men, you know.
Phantom of the Night
whatever.
says, so I guess femme fatales are apparently can't exist. They can't.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No.
Lily said no.
In Lily's world, no. Not even close.
But
Because
you
they
can have
represent
Kirishima
everything
walking
she
around with
isn't.
his abs out. Like, that's perfectly fine.
Oh yeah, 110%.
It's because Lily's not attracted to men, so even if there was like overt sexualization for them, she wouldn't perceive it. She only perceives sexualization towards female characters because she likes female characters.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm kind of waiting for the action show that's ballsy enough to have like a female, like have a female's character, like their
Dude.
shirt get destroyed in the same way that men's shirts always get destroyed.
Yeah.
Like I know that's like, you know, me asking for booba, but like, come on, like at the same time, it's fair. Like, why do they
fair.
get to keep the scraps of clothing around their chest when all the guys here are completely shirtless after that Kamehameha blast? Like, come
exactly,
on.
yo. I watched freaking Dragon Ball Super. I'm all like, okay, so Goku gets beaten to shab him, get a planet thrown at him, and his shirt gets ripped off. But this chick, friggin' Android 18, gets the same punishment and nothing happens. Curious.
It's because Android 18 is perfect and you can't do anything to her.
Also, the meta reason is because man titties aren't a sexual object on a body, whereas women titties are.
Yeah,
Nobody gives a shit about your titties, guys. I'm sorry.
I don't know. Have you seen some of the artists in the sketches? The way they.
Man, I think that's just how we should move
Doing
on.
the Lord's work.
It's a good
I do love what some people do on YouTube. They do like a shirtless man, but they Photoshop off the nipples and replace it with women's nipples, and then they just get let's see if they get flagged for indecency.
I saw a clip from some a Studio Ghibli movie. I don't know which one it was, but it was just two dudes like flexing off their shirts at each other.
That was
and-
Castle in the Sky, I think.
It was great.
Yeah. Oh my god, I remember the nipper zipper. Oh my god, I wish that I could find that video of me just like photoshopping the nipper zipper. But
we need to move on to the next.
Lance Corporal Anime Guy says she would probably hate Blazing Saddles. Dude, so many people today would hate Blazing Saddles, even though it's so good.
yeah. Okay, Leon, the nipper zipper was a shirt where there were two zippers right over the nipples so that you could pull down the zippers and reveal the nippers.
It's my favorite thing. It's my favorite thing in like D&D is the joke. It's when we have like a charismatic paladin who's a girl, or even guys. We can start joking about guys with it too. Is that like every single paladin in their full plate have a zipper across the chest so they can unzip it for the boob window?
Dude, I'm just hearing y'all say this, and that just sounds like typical Tetsuya Nomura character design to me.
Yeah, but no, if they unzipped it with Tetsuya Nomura, it would like lead to another world that would be inside your heart, and like it'd be like a whole thing. It wouldn't be a boob window.
Yeah.
True. Well,
besides, we know he's more of a legs man. You've seen Aqua.
I mean, that's
yeah.
I mean, dude, they never put anything on women's legs in Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
Now that you've been checking.
Let's be honest.
I didn't notice.
Familiar.
Someone else noticed
familiar.
Funnily enough, I have an OC that me and my friends use for a little one shot. She's very fan servicey. She's an adult, and her clothes always get torn up after a battle. It's a gag. Oh, that's fun. That's fun. That's like a Slayers type gag right there.
Yeah, it is.
So Kaiser...
Lily would hate Slayers because the main joke of Slayers is that the main character has A-cup breasts and everyone else around her has like triple D's. And she's very insecure about it.
She's very insecure, and she's very, very willing to let people know about that.
Yes, in a violent way.
Orion Lupin said the nipper zipper sounds like something that Bruno Bucchiarati would wear. I don't
Oh,
know who that is.
Bucciarati. Yeah, that's
Bucciarati?
from JoJo Part 5. Yeah.
Ah.
His whole thing is that like he has this outfit and his power is related to zippers. Like he can open up the doors and he can cut up things with like zippers and shit like that. He's really cool. But he
Yeah.
has this sort of like man boob window with his outfit.
All right, so 26. I think it's Kaiser now.
God damn. Oh, okay.
Well, I found it.
Related to the above, if your justification is to just be honest and say you like ogling sexy characters, you're still a huge turd, but slightly less of a turd than above. Slightly. Lily, you have zero right to talk.
Don't you
Mhm.
dare badmouth our Lord and Savior Yoko Taro.
Exactly. Dude, she would hate Nier. She
Oh,
would
dude.
absolutely hate
Like,
it,
I-
and I don't
100%.
care.
I still love the explanation. It's like, so why did you why are all these sexy girls running around like this? And he's like, well, in the future we actually don't know what these robots would look like, so I decided to visualize it in a way that I liked.
Mhm.
And that was
Yep.
literally his entire explanation. He's like, I like sexy girls.
Yep.
And end of question.
Pretty much. It is, I guess Taro was a huge turd, even though pretty much all these characters are adults anyway.
I was
so
gonna
why
say,
is
and
that a
he's also
problem?
beloved. People love him because he's such a nice guy.
If he was a
yeah.
woman, then Lily wouldn't care that much because women can sexualize
What? Yeah, let's be
women.
freaking honest, dude. Like, if women pulled this kind of shit, she would have zero issue with it.
No. She'd say you're a
Mhm.
self-hating woman.
Yeah.
Oh,
You're
got
right.
you.
Oh, I hate the zipper thing. Oh no. Oh, I don't like that.
Yo, so you saw the
I
zipper
imagine
zipper?
it. I imagine it for some reason. I guess I imagine it as like horizontal.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I guess
okay,
I'm too
my favorite
Tetsuya
part of
brain.
this is that it's only on one side. It is
I
specifically
know.
that one nipple. That is the best part of that. It's just like, no, I could do it for both nipples, but I only want it on my left one.
Yeah.
To make the right one jealous.
So, writing advice 27. Don't worry about not having everything planned out beforehand. No writer or creator plans everything beforehand, and the ones who say they do are filthy liars. Writers have at best 1 to 2 story beats they're determined to include. Everything else is by the seat of their pants.
Bullshit.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
there's a kernel of truth to this, but
Yes.
the way she phrased it is the most disingenuous, unnecessarily aggressive way to go about it. Because
Mhm.
Well, not only that, but like different people have different methods of writing. Some people only do pure pantsing. Some people
Yeah.
have 12 story beats that they want to get to, but they
Yeah.
struggle with everything else about it. Like and some people like me, they have different methods depending on what story that they're writing. So like it's not just that, Lily. A lot of different people are different from each other, and they do storytelling in different ways.
And there are the rare people out there that are the frickin' engineers of writing that can intricately detail everything from point A to point Z in as much
Sure.
detail as possible. They're rare. It's difficult, but it's
Mhm.
not impossible.
Possible. Like I though the cardinal truth I do see here is that like I think that so many people try too hard in order to become the hyper planners in regards to their writing and their writing style, when it will be detrimental for not only their story but also them just being productive in writing in general. And yeah, that can be detrimental. That can be a problem. So the advice isn't just don't worry about it. The advice should be find a writing style that works out for you and stick with that.
Mhm.
or
if it-
find a
if it-
writing style that fits your particular story, because like I said, not every writing style fits with a particular story.
Mhm.
I have my fanfic that I was able to easily write out and easily plan out and write everything, and that made it easier for me to write. But that method isn't necessarily working for my novel. So I have to do different writing methods in order to get these different things done.
It is interesting how like fan fiction versus writing wholesale is a completely different ball game, because with fan fiction, you have so much material that's already established to pull from. Meanwhile, with your own original stuff, there's a lot that you don't know yet. And as you write, it kind of crystallizes, and that's why going back and revising your writing is important.
Yes.
Also, like, if you're writing, like, a murder mystery or something, you're not going to just come up with all of it by the seat of your pants. Something like that does require a lot more, like, intricate detailing and planning beforehand.
Blade Charge J.R.R. Martin.
War story.
J.R.R. Martin is not one of them, all right? Then his books would already be fucking done at this rate. That man, like, as intricate as his stories are, he is pantsing for so much of it, I imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Like, he likes to say flowery things like, oh, I'm a gardener. Motherfucker, you have to prune your garden. It's out of control.
Have you seen that man's beard? He has not pruned anything in years.
The only perception I can think of how Lily is coming about this topic is if you look at it from, like, episodic, like, cartoons, like Fairly Odd Parents or SpongeBob. Yeah, they're not planning that stuff out. But not everything is like Fairly Odd Parents and SpongeBob, Lily.
Exactly. Like, what if you have a war story? I mean, yeah, of course. And if that's your preference, that's fine. But to say that that should be a standard story in general is stupid. Like, in a war story, like, for example, in Gundam, right? Then, yeah, having things planned out, like, in the long game, especially thematically speaking, is very important. Like, planning out what your central theme is in your story is a great way of how to sort of frame the rest of it, because that's kind of like the through line, right? That's the point of the through line. Without it, there is no cohesion. So you have to plan that out to some extent, not just 1 or 2 beats. You gotta at least have, like, I don't know, 10 of them, depending on how long it is.
Yeah.
So, shall we move on to the next point, which I believe is Twilight?
Yes.
And we're now past the turd section so far, I think.
Yay!
Yay!
I'm so excited.
Survive the turd section. Put on a shirt.
28. Don't try and do what Avatar did. You can't.
Kill me.
Even the people who made Avatar can't make another show do what Avatar did.
Who's
We
trying
already
to do
talked
that?
about like the difference between Avatar and Korra and how a lot of that issue was executive meddling. So like if they had 5 seasons from the very beginning, I'm sure that Korra would have been a very different show.
Right.
I can't think of a single person who earnestly wants to write tips for writing, and one of their tips is discouragement.
Yeah.
Like, I would never phrase this like this. I would be like, rather than be like, don't try to do this. You won't do it as good as they will, obviously. I would phrase it as, if you're going to try to shoot for the moon and do something as grand and as detailed as something like Avatar, you need to really, really make sure you're getting the details right. Because you're going to have a lot higher expectations set upon you like that. Don't just sit there and go, don't try.
The problem is that Lily is so incredibly bitter. She thinks that all of these cartoons that she dislikes that are made currently are aping Avatar. But what Lily doesn't realize is that a lot of these shows have been cooking under the oven for several years, probably during Avatar's fucking run. So the idea that they are aping Avatar in the first place, like they might, in a large scale, is ridiculous. They might take inspiration from a few things, and maybe some aspects of their popularity can be credited to the things that Avatar pushed forward. But to say that they are trying to do what Avatar did is fucking mind-boggling. That doesn't exist. It's a complete fucking cope. And just because you're bitter and you dislike shit like Star versus the Force of the Evil or freaking Owl House does not mean you get to sit here and make that everyone else's problem. Sorry, not sorry.
And the thing that I would say about if someone is wanting to do a story like Avatar, my advice would be figure out what it is about Avatar that you like. Really nail it down what made Avatar special to you, and then focus on that. Or else you're going to get lost in the weeds.
Yeah, because there can be a lot of love and majesty to being inspired by something and taking the aspects of it that you like and putting it in a way that can be a very fun and interesting spin on it. Jujutsu Kaisen is heavily inspired by both Naruto, Yu Yu Hakusho, and Hunter x Hunter, and it's fantastic. It's one of the best shonen of this generation for that reason. And there's a lot of reverence to those shows that push forward this style while also being its own thing.
If you spend your whole time sitting there telling people to never try to do what Avatar did, then that just means you will cultivate a landscape where you will never get another show that's as good as Avatar. Because you can't get something that good if you don't try.
Exactly.
Nothing will ever be that good again. And I'm sorry, Lily. I think you have been sitting here trying to say that modern cartoons are flawed. Don't you? Shouldn't the problem be that we should study Avatar more in order to utilize its aspect in more effective ways? Like, shouldn't that be the goal? But fuck off, I guess. Okay.
The reason why she thinks like this is because ultimately Lily is not a writer. Like, yes, she has written fan fiction and she continues to write fan fiction, but that doesn't make you a writer. In order to be a writer, that requires you more than just write. That requires you to have a writing mentality and to think like a writer.
I mean, I was gonna say that's because she's a joyless clod.
I mean, there's that too.
Enjoy any of the things that she cares about.
That too, but mostly she just is not a writer, and I suspect not a creative person in general. And that probably makes her very jealous that a lot of people are.
And when people point it out, she starts copyright striking them.
Yeah.
Moving on to number 29.
Sorry, I was just reminded more of the Asterion quote. It's like, I thought you were immune to sunlight. It's like, oh, it turns out there's a difference between a sunny day and the surface of the sun.
Are we still doing... Sorry.
I love Neil Newborn. He's so good.
It's such a good delivery. Like...
Are we still doing 3 at a time, or
no? I think we're back to 1 at a time, and I think we'll end up at 33. I think going 1/3 of the way through the list is probably a safe number.
Yeah.
Nice.
So Kaiser, I believe, is reading out 29 now.
No, I think it's me.
Oh, Critter is reading out 29.
Critter erasure.
Okay, sorry.
How dare!
I am confused. I am a boat. Don't talk to me.
He heard himself in his confusion.
I was temporarily
29. Low stakes. Oh my god, I hate this one. Low stakes.
Oh, I love this one.
Interpersonal conflict will always be more satisfying in the long run than high stakes saving the world. Friends is more popular than your favorite anime for a reason.
Okay, I'm just gonna shut this argument down completely. Look up chat, look up the highest viewed Dragon Ball Z video, and then look at the highest viewed Friends video, and you tell me which one is more popular.
Oh, I can do you one better than that. I can do you one better. There is a list on Wikipedia of the highest grossing franchises of all time. Friends is incredibly low on that list, especially compared to a lot of popular anime.
Yeah.
Pokemon.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
example.
Pokemon is literally top of the list. Then Mickey Mouse and Friends. Then Winnie the Pooh, Star Wars, Disney Princess. I'm just going through it. Anpan Man. Anpan Man?
Yeah, that's a children's anime that's been around since like the 60s or something.
73, but
yeah, okay, yeah, I was close.
Oh, Harry Potter.
I think it's telling that anime transcends different cultures. Anime can be made we enjoy it here in the West. There are people in Spanish, it gets dubbed for Spanish. Are Japanese people chomping at the bit for Friends, Lily? I don't think
Yeah,
so.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
Dude,
no.
there's a Goku statue in Mexico. I'm sorry. Does Friends have a statue in freaking Mexico? I don't think
She's-
so.
She's so self-centered on her own culture. Like, she cannot perceive the world outside of her own little white suburbia bubble.
Holy shit, Demon Slayer's
Yeah, she
almost
lives in
overtaking
Moose
Dragon
Camp.
Ball.
Not
Yeah.
surprised, even though that's a shame because I don't think Demon Slayer is that good.
I'm so
Okay,
mad.
bro, same.
I'm
Super
so
Sentai.
mad that Digimon was taken off of this list, but that's because Bandai hasn't really released any kind of info on what Digimon makes. So they had to take it off the list.
To be fair, what the
Even
fuck
though
does Digimon make
that-
at this point? No one knows. It's so awful, their
Yeah, well,
marketing.
It's supposed to be like from an all-time thing since the franchise was made, and at least when it was on there, it was on the 6 billion range.
Lily, narrowing it down to just like your favorite anime for a reason. She specifically points anime, not any other, like not like K dramas, like Korean dramas or Japanese dramas or anything. Nothing like that. It's anime.
She doesn't
which
point. She doesn't
Yeah.
point to the MCU, which was on that list, and it's one of the most highest grossing things ever. And the problem with that fucking series is that they keep doing the end of the world shit when people are starting to get sick of it, and they just want,
Yes.
hey, maybe the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man should just have friendly neighborhood Spider-Man level problems.
Yes.
Mhm.
Like,
She's just
Like, it
so
all depends on the freaking context, and she's just projecting her preferences
yeah.
onto things.
Yeah,
for
There's
no
not
good
say
reason.
anything of what if you combine the two? What if,
Yes!
hey, I have a bunch of really low stake interpersonal conflicts that I'm trying to resolve. Oh, also, and the world is going to end, and it's going to prevent me from satisfying any of that.
Wait, Raymond, isn't that doing what Avatar did?
Dum, bum, bum.
And it all comes together, ladies and gentlemen. This is 100% cope.
And it all
She
Yeah,
is
she-
she is injecting herself in Coca-Cola.
It's a perfectly valid reasoning to say the reason why I want to save the world is because I freaking live in it. And because the people that I love live in it.
Ooh, a
And,
rare,
like,
So
I-
it can be both.
a rare teddy
I
bear
tend to
paladin.
prefer.
Oh.
Sorry. I tend to prefer smaller stories, like low stake stories too. Like I don't always want like the end of the world. Like I think that's one of the reasons why Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland is one of the stupidest fucking movies of all time. But I'm also not so self-centered that I can't understand that some stories benefit from things like that. Look at Band of Brothers and tell them it would have been better if it wasn't about the war.
Yeah.
Teddy bear paladin, rarely not a story one. Lily strikes me as
Okay.
an ultimately incurious person who isn't interested in others' thoughts or feelings and thus isn't interested in true examination. Very
Exactly.
insightful from our teddy bear paladin.
Yes.
Absolutely.
0 to hero,
Mhm.
I just want Big Wheel to rob banks and for Spider-Man to stop him. Is that too much to ask? No, it is not. But you know what I'm asking for? I'm asking for pictures of Spider-Man!
Dude, and it's not even that she is incurious. She is a disdainful freaking person. It's like she resents the idea of looking at other perspectives.
Also, she's conflating here with popularity with good writing and satisfaction, which are
Oh,
not the
that's a
same
code.
thing.
Mhm.
Because, like, Friends, I know there's several plot arcs that people that are Friends fans despise, and they just hate.
Yes.
Like with any
100%.
sitcom, there are arcs that characters go through that just don't feel as correct for them or out of
I
character
was
or
gonna
something like that.
say. Yeah, I was gonna say some of my least favorite anime of all goddamn time have been slice of life shows. Right? There's a slice of life show. I forgot what it is. I think it's called Memory of Melodies or some shit like that. And it's
F.
one of the worst shows I have ever seen in my goddamn life. It is so fucking terrible. I would take fairy tale over this goddamn thing.
We
It's
were
so
on
funny.
a break.
Also, oh yeah,
Nice.
okay. I'm gonna be so real. Even in the perspective of like Western-made sitcoms, Friends isn't
Yeah.
even that good. Like I would watch
No.
Frasier way more than I would watch Friends.
Dude,
Frasier
you
is
would
way
have
better.
way more. You would have way more of an argument if you picked Seinfeld, lady. Seinfeld is more popular than Friends. Family freaking Matters is more popular than Friends. What the fuck are you talking about?
Oh,
A lot of people, like, Friends was a big phenomenon when it started, but once it ended, a lot of people were watching it because of the sunk cost fallacy. They had spent so long with the show that they needed to see how it ended because they
Let's
put
be-
so much emotional investment into the show.
Zero,
Let's be
that's not
honest.
pictures
No.
of Spider-Man. That's some asshole wearing a Spider-Man costume and a sweatshirt. He sent me a picture of the Scarlet Spider. That's-
Nice. Let's be honest. The last 4 or 5 seasons, there's only 10 seasons of Friends, and I'm gonna say like at half-ish of them, not very good.
I really think
Yeah.
that RoboCop. Orion Lupus says, I really think RoboCop is a perfect example of high and low stakes. Okay, that's a completely different argument because RoboCop also has elements of parody in it. Like there's a lot of. That's even more complicated. There's an extra layer there that like makes it even harder to talk about the high and low stakes. of it.
What? Nuance? Get that shit out of here. This is a Lily Orchard reaction video.
Leon
no, I
Petit,
agree.
MASH. Yes, MASH is a very good sitcom.
I'm trying to think of like other sitcoms off the top of my head. I mean, Big
We could talk
Bang.
about MASH all day. I love MASH.
I was gonna say,
It's one of my favorite shows.
He's the better Spider-Man. I mean, yeah, but like at the same time, I feel like that's a JJ response. Who's this asshole wearing a sweatshirt? This isn't Spider-Man. Some guy in a costume. Get us out of here. What was I going to go with this? I don't know many sitcoms now that I think about it off the top of my head. Does Malcolm in the Middle count as a sitcom?
I would say so.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would say that's way better than Friends. I mean,
Dude,
recently it's
Dude,
been like
always.
the entire
Oh, God.
circumstance where Hugh is going into his house and he flips on a light switch and the light is out. So he goes to get a new light bulb, discovers the shelf is loose, goes to go get a screwdriver, discovers the drawer is shaky, goes to go get WD-40, turns out that's empty, goes to drive to the store to go pick it up, the car won't start. So it's like him at the end of the day, he's in the middle of his driveway repairing his car. His wife comes out and is like, Hugh, the light's out in the kitchen. Like, and he zooms out and he's like, what does it look like I'm doing?
I loved that show as a kid, dude.
It is so
you know
good.
What? I am willing to bet money that Always Sunny in Philadelphia is more popular than Friends.
Almost.
I want to talk
willing to
about
bet.
emotionally powerful sitcoms. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air has the most powerful episodes
110%.
I could think of.
110%.
Absolutely. Sorry, I was closing my window. Absolutely. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. God damn. Why don't he want me,
Dude,
man?
that has done
God.
had way more cultural impact. If you want to compare freaking anime popularity to it, you have way more of an argument there.
Will Smith can punch Chris Rock as many times as he wants, and I will never stop loving Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. That is such a powerful fucking show. And hey, you know what it does? It actually brings the idea of these racial issues into a very like understandable light for everyone. It approaches it from the perspective that everyone is going to be watching with this, and we want to make it as relatable as possible to the maximum number of people. And so we approach it in a very specific way to facilitate that. We're not just constantly pumping you with this racial drama. No, we're making you understand because you like these characters when they get in bad situations where bad people are affecting them. We feel bad for them and we want them to succeed.
But nah, it's bad because the white trans woman says so.
Yeah. Okay. So 30. We're almost to our end cap. Don't worry, guys. People suffering in chat. I'm having fun, but I'm also tiring out.
Too much Lily. It's
Well,
bad.
that
for
and-
you.
I don't know what
very
y'all are talking
draining.
about. I've been waiting for this.
That and there's a fire I apparently need to put out. So that's
Oh dear.
Yeah, so I've been like emotionally drained through half the stream. So I'm like, okay, I gotta take care of that, but like I can't end the stream here. Yeah.
For a second, I thought you meant like a real fire. And I'm like, get up! Don't just sit here.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
I'm just
Don't
like that
get
guy
crime
from the
for
IT
alive.
crowd, the IT crowd, who's just like sitting there typing at his computer, looks up at the trash fire, looks back down to his computer, and keeps on typing. Like I'm just choosing to either ignore it or I'm not just not taking care of it. So yeah, it's you, Kaiser. 30.
Yeah.
All right. Choose. Oh my God, I love this one. Choose whether you're a comedy or drama at the start and stick to it. Don't make a comedy and turn it into drama later on. That just annoys people. Speak for
Fruits
yourself,
Basket.
lady.
Fruits Basket
Fruits
is amazing.
Basket.
Fruits Basket. Yeah.
Oh,
Fruits Basket.
never watch a Wes Anderson film, Lily. You'll be fucking confused.
Yes.
Or Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah,
Yes.
how do you enjoy that show? How do you enjoy that show? By your own logic, if you think that this is a problem.
This concept is so like
Alien.
spread out across so many different shows that I can't even know what it is she's trying to vague post about in this one because it's so prominent.
Mhm.
Like what I think she's had an issue with like, okay, it's the usual suspects, right? Steven Universe, She-Ra, The Owl House, and freaking Starverses, right? She
Yeah.
keeps on saying that these shows become worse because they take themselves seriously later on and they don't know how to handle the serious like circumstances and story beats that they're trying to cover. The problem that Lily is having here is that is an argument of execution, not an argument of implementation. None of this shit matters. When, like, there are so many great shows back in the day that balance both the serious and the dramatic. You can mix these together. It just takes a lot of skill to do it. And you can make a great argument that current writers today don't have enough skill to do that well. That's fine. You can make that argument. I would probably agree with you overall there, but that would imply that you have enough self-awareness, and I don't think you have.
No.
So many.
Like I said,
different
Lily is not a
shows.
writer. She doesn't know a goddamn thing about writing, and yet she thinks that she can speak on it with any kind of authority.
Yeah.
Deadrex is right. Doesn't Hazbin Hotel do this too? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. 31. World building is like salt. A pinch can make it better. 10 cups of it will not. That is a matter of exposition, my dear.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
that is
What do you
literally
mean?
it.
What do you mean world building? Just like
Oh, she
there's
hates
so
world
many-
building. She
there's so
hates
many
it.
elements to world building. Like, are we
Yeah.
talking about like defining cultures? Are we talking about defining like the
Geography?
shape of the continents? Are
Yeah.
we talking about like what? That's so not specific.
Ruby got a pinch of world building salt. It needed at least a cup, okay?
Mhm.
We are talking about scale here. So you put a pinch of salt into this cake, but you're baking like a giant vat to make several cakes. You can't just put a pinch of salt in there. That will not do anything. You need to put much more in it. If your world building needs to match the scale of your story. If you have
Exactly.
a low stakes, low whatever story that doesn't mean much, then you're not going to put a whole bunch of world building into it. If you're building a great fantasy epic, then you need to put a lot of world building into that.
I was gonna say,
Yeah,
I
that's sort of
actually,
like-
I like the use of salt here because, like, when you understand, the more I've come to understand cooking and baking, salt is so vitally important in what it does. Is it brings out flavor? It brings out it helps bring out just the latent flavors of the things that it goes into. So saying world building exposition is like salt, and it depends on the amount of ingredients you have and the kinds of ingredients you have. The measurement will be significantly different. that is, I think, a very nuanced and interesting conversation to have, but it's not one that she seems to be interested in.
Exactly, because here's the thing, guys, she hates world building because she's salty about My Little fucking Pony. She's had a bunch of bad conversations with people about the world building in this freaking pony show. She cringed to the freaking sun, and she can't get over it. That's what all of this is, okay?
Lily, what if I'm making a salt marsh? I need all the salt. Give me buckets of salt. I need it for my salt marsh. Because then the salt marsh man will come and take me down if I don't.
But, yeah, and at the end of the day, God damn it, Raven. Man, at the end of the day, like, okay, not every show, like, I don't even remember a show that is bogged down by having a whole lot of world building. It's more so that a show is bogged down when they're not using it to enhance the story.
And like, what if we look at it from the perspective of not a show, but something like a movie, like The Evil Dead, for example. You know, like they have this very specific amount of runtime that they had to tell their story, and they could only get so much information in there while still pulling out like the events that they wanted to happen within the story. But they still need to explain why the demons are popping out and whatnot with the book. So what they do is they just sit down and listen to like a whole tape for 5 minutes or something, and then that's all the information we need. But when that's a completely different. But that kind of thing would be different versus like a 10-book novel, like Narnia or something, you know?
Yeah. Again, it's a matter of scale. When you're dealing with a single movie, you need the world building that is enough to support the foundation of that movie. But if you have a 10-book novel series, you need to have enough world building in order to justify everything within that 10 novel series. The amount of salt is going to depend, because the novel series will need a lot more of it.
Yeah, and that's not even getting into video games. She loves freaking Baldur's Gate, at least like the older Baldur's Gate games. D&D by design has a shit ton of world building attached to that crap.
Yeah, like oh my god, you could spend years researching, not even just reading up on, but literally researching the worlds that different D&D campaigns have spun out into. Greyhawk, Galarian, whatever they use now for D&D, I can't remember what they call that world. The one that they use for 4th edition. People love world building, and in different contexts, it can be very. I mean, God, I don't want to get into it. It's just so much. World building is a very fun and interesting thing for a lot of people. Getting lost to it, there's a lot of risk to getting lost to it, but still,
sure. Like, and like, I understand that, like, you know, the idea of not wanting it too bogged into the writing process before the story is even out, of trying to make sure your world building is pitch perfect, right? That's perfectly fine. Going full autismo about it in a way that impedes, you know, your progress of actually writing the story, yeah, that's bad. It's like the bridge test, right? But at the end of the day, it's all in the execution.
Ryan Lupin says, I swear Lily is a more irritating version of Chris Chan. I'm not sure.
Dude, she's a Chris Chan of media critics.
And Blade Shark says even the smallest story has world building. Accurate.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is why I say that world building is the foundation of your story. That is the house that is your story. You need to have world building. You need to have a lot of world building. You don't need to have all of the world building explicitly spelled out in your novel. You can leave it to you can leave some of that to be vague and as subtext for your readers to have. And this is why I say that some elements can be just told to the readers on Twitter or something, because it's not an important enough element to your story to be placed in the novel, but it is still something that you worked on as a background element to your story.
It's the law of equivalent exchange. Everything has to be proportional. right?
Mhm.
Yes.
If you're doing just a coffee shop AU, depending on the world of the coffee shop, assuming that this is a contemporary setting, yeah, not a whole lot of world building is needed. But in a sci-fi epic, yeah, you need a fuck ton of that, dude.
I was
Sorry.
gonna
Yeah.
say in the coffee shop AU, it could be very important what the world building is. Where is the coffee shop located? Is it upper or middle class or lower class end of town? Like, what's the clientele like? What are the conditions of the actual location? Does it have some kind of faulty plumbing or faulty electric wiring or some kind of weird gas line problem? Does it have does it make it difficult for delivery routes?
Yeah.
Did you buy it for cheap? Was it super expensive? Like, you could literally go super deep into it and make them relevant to the story if you really wanted to. It really depends on the story you want to tell.
Yeah.
Daigato asks, is world building still needed if your world setting takes place in the modern day?
Yes.
It depends. Like, if to an extent, yeah. Like, if you have just a normal story with normal characters that don't have any magic or anything like that, you still have to establish the setting that your story takes place in. Does it take place in Yeah, it takes place in the modern day, but where in the modern day? Does it take place in Japan? Does it take place in Africa? Does it take place in Europe? Does it take place somewhere in America? Because all of these things lead to different settings and very different contexts. And like, does it take place in the big city or does it take place in a small town?
Is it
all
a
of
real,
these
it-
things-
does it take place in a real place, or is it something that you fictionally created and you have to actually account for?
Right. One of the most fun things about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is Araki is a freaking not only a Westaboo, he's an everything-aboo because he travels everywhere for inspiration for his work. And a lot of the places that he sets the characters in each part, because each one is, about a different generation of the Joestar bloodline, they take place in different places all over the world. We don't even hit Japan until part 3, and even then it wasn't even the main setting of that part. It's a globe-trotting adventure at that point. And we get to see, Egypt and Morocco and so much of the Middle East, and it fits the tone of the story.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to 32, because I think we're almost there.
Almost there. Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. 32. Character should always come before anything else.
I mean, like,
I'm not
wow,
completely
that's
in
a
disagreement,
nice.
but that's
Make food taste good. Oh, I never thought of something like that.
Well,
You're a genius.
Well,
Lily.
all right. I'll counter that, because one of the things that I do love is classic science fiction, where the characters themselves aren't really all that well fleshed out, and a lot of times they're just sort of like generic scientist man who has discovered supernatural phenomenon and isn't researching it. Like, a lot of old science fiction was written in such a way that was more about exploring the phenomenon that was happening, which I find fascinating from a writing standpoint, because so much of modern writing trends focuses on characters, and it has been that way for some time, so it's kind of a weird outlier.
Right.
It's also part of the reason that a lot of speculative fiction hasn't gotten as much attention in the critical eye from people for so long, is because they often focus on the more fantastical elements over character. I think there is some truth to putting characters before the phenomena at discussion, the setting or the weird technology or what have you. But I don't think it's the be all end all. It's a good place to focus on if you're looking to amass an audience.
Mm-hmm.
And like
I would say for the majority of stories, characters should be the main focus, but when you have exceptions like what you said, then it isn't the be all end all.
Yeah,
For the most part, there is nuance to everything, but yes, for the most part, we can agree when it comes to romance. Characters should be the focus of the romance, or else it's not going to work. If you have an epic fantasy story, the characters for the most part, should be a big focus on that because we need to get emotionally invested, or else we're going to get lost in this vast world, and we need those characters as anchor points. Is the same with sci-fi and stuff like that. Like with the mystery story, the characters are very important for the mystery of the story and the solving of the mystery and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It depends on your story and what you intend to do with that story.
Right.
This kid isn't Lily natively impaired? Yes.
Oh my god!
I don't even know what that means.
Like Native American.
I know.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
I know what that
that
meant.
has-
I was just like, I don't know what natively impaired means. I don't.
She's
I made it the fuck up.
she's like 1/16 Cherokee sort of person.
Oh.
Like she is technically, yes, like her grandfather or something realized that his family came from native roots, but she doesn't really do anything to connect with her culture except to have the outward window dressings of native culture onto her.
her
She
ancestors.
uses it as a shield, so you can't say she's racist because she's
Exactly.
technically not white.
Her ancestors look down on her in shame. Put it that
Except,
You'll
way.
also notice, as she's drawn herself over the years, she draws herself more and more tan to try to, like, lean into that more and
Oh
more.
my god!
Yeah. Even though that she is a very pale person, and it
Oh, and
honestly, Lily, it doesn't matter if you do have like native ancestry. You do not do all that much to reconnect with that part of your history. And also, you have what a lot of people in your circles call passing privilege, which means that you don't have a lot of sway in these matters, according to
Also-
your own political mindset.
also, can I just say, to be fair, and God forbid you draw her in any way that gives her a little bit more meat on her friggin' bones, because then she'll start ruining your life, like she did to this one artist who drew her a little bit chubby just because she thought it'd be a cuter art style.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Someone draw her as a boat.
Moving
And
on
draw
to
that
33.
Yep.
Instead
Final
of
one.
fucking
33. Final one for this stream. We'll come back to this.
Yeah.
33. The protagonist should be a protagonist, not just a vessel for the antagonist to hog the story. If you're going to make a villain protagonist, just open with that.
What show are you talking about?
Yeah, that is like that's so it's so
She-Ra?
weirdly worded. Like, cause she's using
don't know.
protagonist and hero interchangeably, but not villain. Like a villain protagonist.
This
Lily,
one, I'm just
there
at
can be-
complete loss.
There can be more than one protagonist in the story. They're called deuteragonists, and there can be several
Right.
of them.
I can't get out of my
Digimon-
head
Like-
how Red Letter Media says I can't even replicate it. It's so unique how he says protagonist. Protagonist. He just like over exaggerates it. It's hilarious. Anyway, sorry. That's an aside. I was being very rude.
Yeah.
A
Twilight.
protagonist.
Digimon has 8 protagonists, 7 at the beginning, 8 towards the end. Like there can be as many protagonists as there needs to be in order to tell your story, and not all of them have to be the heroes. Some of them can be the antagonists. Some of them can be what she calls villain protagonists, because that is what a main character is.
Like Avatar, The Last Airbender.
The gasp.
But okay, guys, I'm gonna make a big mistake.
Oh.
I'm gonna be charitable, not to Lily, but to this argument. Okay, I'm gonna pretend to that I'm talking to a much more reasonable human being, in order to end things on a more intellectual note. I can understand what someone like this might be saying in a sense. Because there are shows where the protagonist of the story or the hero of the story is incredibly underwritten and the main villains are substantially and severely have way more things going on with them that are worth fleshing out, right?
Is she talking
I
about
can kind of
Morbius? Oh no, she's morbing.
It's morbid time.
The counterpoint that I would say to that is your villain can make or break your story, so they do need to be fleshed out. And sometimes your hero character doesn't have to be all that well fleshed out, as long as your villain protagonist is an interesting character. And because ultimately, for a lot of stories, if your protagonist isn't the one that is going out there and being an active protagonist and setting all of the grounds for the story, then the villain is. And in those cases where the villain is, then the villain needs to be if not just as, then slightly more interesting character than your protagonist.
Yeah,
sometimes the way a character is written, like I think of Samurai Jack. You know, Aku is such a ham. You know, he just always draws your attention every time he's on screen, and Jack is so reserved that he very often is easily overlooked because everything else is so crazy around him. But that's kind of the whole point of the show.
Yeah,
there's a dichotomy between the two, and it's what makes them entertaining and engaging. Like, I can kind of granted, of course, even with Twilight's argument, I can kind of understand how this could be a problem. Like, yeah, of course, villains are much more active in terms of changing up the status quo. So they're always going to be more interesting, generally speaking, by default, just by virtue of their position in the story. But what I'm saying is that there can be a very severe case where it's, you know, the gulf of intrigue between the two characters is like from here to Venus, right?
Oh, I can agree with that.
Yeah,
Naruto.
my question is we're gonna have some words about that after stream. But anyways, my question is, what show is Lily talking about?
Yeah,
I have no
because
idea.
Even among the ones that she usually bitches about in her videos, I have no idea who she's referring to.
Could it be Catra?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Is it Discord from My Little Pony? Maybe.
Possibly.
I mean, if I had John Delancey at my beck and call, I would totally make him a protagonist. But I mean, just saying.
And guys, don't use shows that are like way after this point, because I'm pretty sure like by the time that these were made, I think it was like 2019, 2020 that these tips were made. Yeah.
God, what's her opinion on Arcane?
Oh, well, okay. I think I watched a video about it and I downloaded it because you know, something tells me her channel isn't gonna be here for very long. So if there's any cringe you want to say, now's the time. But anyways, she likes Arcane, or at least Michaela does. Michaela made the video about it. She didn't make it herself. Michaela, her wife, who's also complicit in all of this, in case it's any surprise at all. She had some weird takes, but overall it seems that she likes it.
That
weird.
That,
it's just a weird
makes
one.
me
It
like
also feels
Arcane
like
less.
Yeah. Oh my God.
It also feels like
that's
two
a Lily
different.
stench.
It feels like two different points she tried to like sew together. There's like the point about villain protagonists, and then also the point about like the protagonist being a vessel for the antagonist to hug the story. It just feels. I don't.
Yeah.
I think we're all like melting down a little bit here. A little brain melt going on. So I think we'll wind it down on that one. We got, oh God, there's still 67 more of these left.
Yeah. It's
Like I'm excited about it, and like I think part of the problem is I remember reading through all of these at one point with you, Twilight, but I think it was all in one
Yeah.
sitting. And I remember being like
Uh-huh.
exhausted by it, so some of these didn't sink in. I think coming back with a fresh set of eyes for every third chunk is the smart way to play this, because there's so much to
Yeah.
discuss with these.
probably, yeah.
Oh, well, thank you all so much for joining us on this dive into the mind of a lunatic. To put it mildly. That was me being nice. I wondered, do we have any parting thoughts? Any like shilling you guys want to do?
Oh,
Well,
God.
I don't know when I'm going to get it done, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to care less about the editing of my video, and hopefully I'll be able to get it out in a couple of weeks. So look forward to that.
Yeah.
Ding dong
Also,
TikTok, thank you.
reminder about my mom's GoFundMe with Charlie.
Yes, it's down in the description. Please support that. But also wanted to read out from Doodly Ding Dong TikTok. Until next time, this will be painfully fun. Have a great week, y'all. Thank you, man.
You too, dude.
But yes, please go support Charlie down in the description down below.
Absolutely. This in mind, I am currently working on a video that's going to be a combination of some clips from my very first live stream where I was reacting to Johnny Two Cello's video about Amber from Invincible. Hopefully that should be done in the next 2 weeks. Should be easy enough. So hope y'all enjoy that. I have plans for a live stream next week after I come back home from Otakon. It's gonna be really fun. It's gonna be really great. I am planning on meeting J. Michael Tatum, actually. And having him sign a copy of Spice and Wolf.
Nice. Dude,
Nice.
he was so nice in person. He was so awesome when I met him.
Every clip that I've seen of him, he always is. I'm gonna mention you to him because it's gonna make for a great conversation.
I can't remember if I
Also,
had
a lot of
I wasn't known as Raymond McNeil back then, so I don't know if he'll.
Fair.
Probably, I don't even know if I mentioned my name to him, so I don't know.
Okay.
Just ask him if he
Also-
remembers in Ohio some guy with wild red hair, because that might trigger it, but I don't know.
Okay. Also, a lot of the voice actors from Final Fantasy VII are also gonna be there. I'm gonna see.
Tell him
but
that
there's
Barrett's not a deep character.
Dude, the voice of Barrett is gonna be there.
I can't believe they said that about Barrett. He's such a good character.
I know, bro. Holy
Oh.
shit. But anyways, what was it? Yeah, I'm gonna have another stream on my channel. It'll probably be a gaming stream. I'm gonna see how I can set that up. But also, in light of the recent situation in regards to copyright strikes and stuff, pay attention to any channel that has ever reacted to Lily's content. Let them know about this. Spread the word of all the shit that's happening with Sai and Anthony's channels. This is fucked up. I'm just gonna say this shit right now. Lily does not deserve her platform. Beyond
No.
just not being a good creator, that shit's whatever. Fuck it. Who cares? She is an active danger to anyone who wants to actually, spread criticism and flesh out the conversation about the things that she refuses to take part in. And she's silencing people because they don't think the same way. It's heinous. It's horrendous. It's the worst thing. It is the one line you don't cross when it comes to any YouTuber. It's an unwritten rule for a reason. You don't go after people's money.
Yeah.
So, with all that in mind, again, look after your creators, spread the word, maybe get some commentary guys' attention on this, whatever.
Remember the
But
water and
either
feed
way.
them at least once a day.
Yeah, exactly. Make sure that they're tucked in before they go to bed.
Take them for walks. Critter, what do you got going?
Hi, episode 8 of Ruby Reverse Fates is this week. We're gearing up towards the finale, only a couple episodes left. And also, I'm gonna be streaming Nuzlocke this Friday. I didn't last week because I had too much to do for Reversed Fates episode 9, not episode
Hell
8.
yeah.
But I'm working on episode 8. Episode 8 is this week. Lots happening, but all that.
All right. And as always, Stellar Sentinels auditions still open. You get in there very last minute. It closes tomorrow. Reminder, we stream Bad Fanfiction Night every single Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you want to join us for Ratfic, which is just, it's been such a good time. Mupa is just so much fun having written the
Yes.
sequel to the original Ratfic. I highly recommend it. It's just a good time for all. Please see us there. With all that said, thank you all so much for watching, and we'll catch you all on the flip side.
Bye.
See y'all around.